Hey everybody, ReefGrrl here, and welcome to ReefGrrl Live. I am so happy you could make it. The whole idea here is to have some fun, chat, get some questions answered, maybe show off what you're doing, and get to know each other a little bit better. So sit back, relax, grab a drink. The stream is about to begin. There we go. Is that better? Hi, everybody. I had to unmute my mic. So here we are, another Saturday night. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. We have got 22 people right off the bat, and we have a special guest. And I saw another special guest pop in while I was watching the countdown over here, and hopefully she'll come back. But in the meantime, let's say hi to everyone who's here now. We have Tony Close, UK Reef. Tony, you're number one tonight. Awesome. And then Benny Fernandez has come in, and Tony says, Cindy, I enjoyed your Instagram post today. Good luck with the stream. Can't wait. Yeah, that was fun. I noticed that happening once or twice a while ago, and I thought I have to get that on video because it's never happened in my reef tank before. So that's pretty cool. I was quite happy about that. I have uploaded that video, so for anybody who didn't see it, maybe later on if things get quiet, I'll play that video here in the stream. Okay, Sleaze Stack. Oh, hello, how are you? Yes, saw you on BRS today. Thomas liked your molly tank. I made the big time. My Mollywood was featured on the BRS, one of the 5 tanks with BRS Reacts, and I put that up quite a while ago, and they decided to critique it today. So, yep, Thomas liked the molly tank, and it was fun, very fun to listen to what he had to say. So, yep, go check it out. It's episode 10, I believe, and BRS Reacts is the name of the series. Thanks, Sleaze Stack, for coming by. Hey, Click Clacks Reef, nice to see you. Yeah, what's up with you? Braveheart Reefer 525 is here. That's awesome. WVU Reefer waiting, looking out the windows at pink and blue twilight. Amazing. We get orange and yellow and red here. It's pretty spectacular some nights. And there's Robert Poorman. Hey, Robert. Nice to see you. I saw that you started following me on Instagram. Thank you for that. That's great. I put a lot of little quick updates on Instagram just because it's easy and fast. And not that all that stuff won't be on YouTube at some point, but YouTube videos take a lot longer to do. And right now I've just been so busy that I have videos half made that I just haven't had time to get to. So they're coming. They are coming. Oh, where are we? Stacy Williams. Hello. Good evening, Benny Fernandez. Sorry, misread that. Hey, Producer Reef. Ichthyo Stuff. Nice to see you. Hi, Hector, Calypso's Reef. Nice to see you here. Saturday has begun, according to Robert Poorman. Wonderful. There's Taryn's Little Ocean. Nice to see you, Taryn. Chimp the Reefer is here. Hey, Chase V. Oh, Chase has big news. Might be able to come on in an hour or so. Sounds good, Chase. I would have sent you the link, but if you didn't get it, it's from my ReefGrrl account. Just let me know, and I'll send you out another email. Hi, Murphy's Aquatics. Awesome. You're awesome, too. It's going to be an awesome Saturday night, I think. Wow, we're up to 31 people right off the bat again. Mr. DKH, hello. Gabe's Reef Tampa is here. Gabe has been working on a new project. Some ups and downs with that, so I've seen. So that's interesting to follow along. T40 Reefer. Did anybody know a good filter to get for your iPhone? The Orthec glass lenses, I would say, if you're interested. The difference is they're made of glass, so there's not so much dust, and the image is clearer, I think. That's what I found anyway. I'm sure everybody has their favorites, and they'll chime in and let you know what they think. Straight Reefer, ReefGrrl and Reefers. Sorry, Hector, missed all the comments. Hello. No problem, Pat. I have a hard time keeping up with this chat sometimes. Chi-Town Reefer, haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you. Okay. Oh, Pat says Orphic #1. Yeah, I really like them. I was very impressed with them. And there's Broke Reef Man coming in. Oh, this is great. So I have a guest tonight who's going to come into the studio, and he was the winner of last week's giveaway. And I'm so happy to see him because I remember watching one of his, well, very early on, maybe it wasn't his first video, but one of his first videos about an anemone getting shredded up in a powerhead. And I don't know if you can figure out who that is, but we've got Freddie Butenhuis. Nice to see you, Freddie. I think I've got everybody. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the very well-known and infamous Nano Joe. Hello, Nano Joe.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
How are you doing?
Doing great tonight. It's a Friday night. It's nice out. So,
good.
Chilling at home.
Yep. So we have a bit of a tradition here. I don't know if you know about it, but just to break the ice and kind of give everybody a chance to get to know you a tiny bit.
Okay.
We have what we call the troll question.
Oh.
So I'm the troll.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you a question. It's nothing hard or scary.
Okay.
And give you a chance to answer, and everyone will sort of get a sense of your reefingness. So
all right.
Go.
Let's have fun with it.
You got to put the troll glasses on.
Oh, I don't have those.
No, people look for the troll glasses. They really do. Oh, Camaro Kid just snuck in, and Malcolm's Reef. Hello from Florida. Okay, so Nano Joe, here's a question for you.
Okay.
If you think about your most frustrating reefing experience, what did you learn from that?
Most frustrating? Ah, man. It's probably trying to soak in all the information that you're receiving, from a start, right? You're brand new to the hobby. You're probably a little timid about all the information coming at you.
Yep.
And trying to take that all in at once and finding out for yourself what is true and what it isn't true. And with that being said, what's going to work for you too, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I've reached out to probably a little bit more well-known YouTubers at the time when I first started, and getting maybe not as well-detailed answers, and then building up the confidence to go to my LFS and asking those guys their opinions on things too, and then just trying to soak it all in is probably, I guess, maybe a little anxious, so maybe a little tougher for me. Mm-hmm. But after all these years now, you feel a little bit more confident in hearing things, and then you start to realize what's true and what isn't true. So I think that's probably one of the most frustrating things, is figuring out what is true and what you're learning before isn't true, and then you're doing it to your reef tank and you're going, well, doing it all this time, ruining my reef tank.
Yeah.
So
how long have you been keeping a reef tank?
I've been in a reefing hobby for 4 or 5 years now, and I've been in the fish hobby collectively for over 10.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Okay. We'll let you in.
I got the pass.
Kidding. Just kidding. You're in already.
Woo!
Yeah, nobody else here in the chat. Yeah, I remember that very first video where do you remember that video where your anemone got sucked into a powerhead?
Oh my gosh.
That's the very first one of yours that I saw, and I think it might have been among your first. Probably 4 years ago. Yeah.
That one, that was definitely a frustrating experience for sure. Just not knowing, like I said before, just not knowing what you should know, I guess. Well, I guess I should say you should know, but the learning process, maybe. More put it there. But yeah, I remember making that video. I remember waking up that morning and seeing that and wondering why my tank is all cloudy, and then just the odor that filled your room too after your anemone getting shredded. It was probably 7 or 8 in the morning. I wake up for work and I'm just like, I don't have time for this. Like, I'm trying to get to work and everything too. But yeah, lesson learned there.
The very first tank I had, I went looking for a coral for the clownfish, and almost from day one, anemones scared me. And it was only because they don't stay where you put them, they stay where
No.
they want to go. And there was that potential for something bad to happen. And
Yep.
even now, I'm still not over it.
Yeah.
I know people have been very successful with them, and others, even when they grow too well and they start splitting
Yes.
uncontrollably, that's the other thing that happens.
Yep. That's a scary thing too with keeping it in the reef's tanks. Like I see like rose tips in people's tanks. They look great, right? They're beautiful. They have the movement in there. Your clownfish are hosting in there, but you have a nice healthy reef. That anemone is going to start splitting, and
Hmm.
their little split babies are going to go wherever they want. I work in the service industry for reef aquariums too. So we have clients tanks that have rose anemones, and my one client's tank we put in 3. 4 weeks later, there's 8. I takes them out, and it's just a reoccurring process too. And like I said before, they look great, but it's a scary thing to put in there. And if I can add one thing to my story too, is that I have not had a second thought of ever adding an enemy to my tank again.
It's
Just
funny
after
because I
that
was just going to
experience.
ask you if you decided if you've ever sworn off enemies or if you've overcome that.
You know, there's always that eye catching to them, and I've thought about it in the past, but it's not for me. And especially if
Yeah.
you're a hardcore SPS keeper, don't risk it. Don't risk your Walt Disney's, your higher end acros with just an anemone, because if it wants to move, it's gonna move. You can't glue
Yeah.
it to something, right? Like our any other frags. So
Yeah. If I had the luxury of it, I would set up just strictly an anemone, and it would be a hedone or like a carpet type and
yep,
clownfish, and that's it. And rock. Nothing else in
yes,
there.
they have like a Harlem of
And
clownfish.
yeah, yeah, that would be
That would look
cool.
really cool.
Camaro Kid says Nano Joe's most frustrating experience was the
Ah,
Fiji Cube all-in-one kit. All right, there's a story. Wait, let me say hi to a few more people, and then I
go
want to
ahead.
hear
Yeah,
this story. Hey, Camaro Kid. K Nels,
actually,
has anyone heard from Billy Pipes? Billy Pipes has just taken a bit of a break and really enjoying spending time with his little boy. So that's awesome. His nouveau has to be. Hey, Johnny Martinez, nice to see you. Miss, Mr. DKH says his anemone got shredded 3 times. The last one was
oh,
fatal. Poor little guy.
that's
Oh,
horrible.
man.
I hate hearing that.
And Taryn's little ocean just got a rock flower yesterday. She's too scared to get a bubble tip yet. Yeah.
The flowers are
Oh,
the great corals to go with. They're just like mushrooms,
yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah. Well, this is it. And I have some hairy green mushrooms that have traveled, probably a foot along a little rock bridge. I thought they would stay on the rock bridge and just kind of
Mm.
drip down. And no, they travel and they're just obliterating everything in their path. Not fun. Hey, Carlos 23. Awesome. Okay, so tell us about the Fiji
Ah,
Cube
so
all-in-one kit.
we can do show and tell as well, because I still have it.
Okay, awesome.
So this is the Fiji Cube. So it's meant for people getting tanks who don't want to drill their tanks and have an all-in-one experience, which where I was living at the time, it made more sense for me to do that, a little bit safer, I guess. But it's just a in-tank sump in there. I wouldn't say this is the most frustrating experience because this is actually a really cool product, and I still would probably use it today if I was going to set up another 40 breeder. Um, but I can't really say anything too negative about it because realistically, it's just like a sump but smaller, right?
Hmm.
So you got your return wherever that may be on this thing. I'm looking at it backwards.
So
Return.
this attaches to a tank?
It sits in a tank, so you either
Oh,
have to
okay.
silicone it or use some kind of like clock to clock it to the back of the tank,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you have an all-in-one tank pretty much. So this
Right.
particular model is going to fit a 40 breeder or a 20 long.
So it's an
Um,
insert.
yeah,
Cool.
it just pops
Okay.
right in. You silicone it into place so water doesn't get behind the glass and the acrylic of the Fiji Cube, and
Right.
then you can just have it as your all-in-one aquarium. So I was going to try to DIY this project when I was doing my 40 breeder build, which I never ever really finished. and I found this company too. Emailed them. They worked with me on it too, and they gave me a really good deal on it. And I put it in, and yeah, that build never really made it to its full potential, just due to in life circumstances, I guess I would say. But I wouldn't really say it was too frustrating. It was pretty cool. It was a fun project. It was a fun product to work with too. I put it in another baffle to put in like a refugium part in there too, because I was really intrigued by refugiums in sumps. I really wanted to get that natural filtration going on in the tank as well. So I did a little bit of a modification to it. And I have videos of that on my channel as well. If anybody's ever looking back into doing that, I have a couple videos on this Fiji Cube, I believe.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it was a cool experience. Like I said, if I'm going to do like, if I was going to get into a bigger builds, I'd probably use it to put into like maybe a quarantine system. That'd be cool to do. But yeah, it wasn't horrible.
So I guess if it was frustrating, why did you stop using it? Did you just change for the 40 breeder?
So when the 40 breeder, I just wasn't happy with having that limited space for a sump.
Right.
I should have drilled a tank and did what I really want to do instead of rushing things to, I guess, make videos on it, because I was really at like my height of video making.
I can relate. Oh man, yeah.
You go through the spurts where you're just pumping out content. You're like, yeah, this is great, this is cool. People are really watching my stuff, and like I got to get this video out. So I think it's where I kind of fell into place on that. But I rushed it. I should have drilled it. Even Billy Pipes, he was going to help me do the whole build too. But like I said, I rushed it, so that was all on me. And I got this product in there, and I just wasn't fully satisfied with the build itself. It wasn't necessarily the Fiji Cube. It was just me not being happy with the build and not doing what I wanted from the beginning. So
yeah, it's funny, you have this kind of vision of what you want to do, and as you carry out the steps towards it, you start running into problems.
Yes.
So you end up solving these problems, and before you know it, you've diverged so far from what you originally wanted to do. You just look at it and go, oh, like, what am I doing now? And all the time you waste and the money.
Yes.
But I guess the only thing is you usually learn from it.
Yeah.
So,
no. My biggest lesson from that is just sticking to the plan.
Yeah.
Stick to the plan, stick to what you originally wanted to do. I mean, you're going to have faults along the line if you're doing a bigger build, which you can adjust to, but sticking to your original plan, to what made you happy originally, I think is probably one of the biggest advice I can give to people starting a new build.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do too much to yourself,
And it's that whole learning curve thing you were talking about earlier, trying to figure out who to listen to, because the more you dig into it, the more you learn about what's out there. And the more you learn about what's out there, the more you start wondering whether the path that you've chosen is the right one. And it's like there's so much self-doubt.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just sending a link out.
Okay. It's awesome. Just a lot of questioning yourself along the way. And I think it's what makes people like me, when I was starting out, a little nervous to make those big moves, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Oh yeah, I've set up about 8 tanks over the course of my 10 or so years.
Holy crap!
Well, at one point I had 4 going at the same time.
That's a lot of work.
It is, and the problem is that they were all different. Of course, one was a 1.6 gallon Pico, and there was, and I actually had a pygmy hawkfish in there.
I've seen that,
and he was very cool. And it got melted away when a house sitter forgot to top up the water. The little 2 ounces of water that had to go in every day.
You always hear stories of house sitters destroying tanks. I think every person I've ever talked to, and in no exaggeration, have had a bad experience with a housekeeper. Even with like specific instructions on how to do things, they still manage to overfeed or not top your tank off, your Pico tank, which is super crucial to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate to hear, but
Well, and I think in our house, the biggest thing I have is nothing ever gets sprayed in this house into the air. Nothing ever.
Nothing.
It's hard to convince people that it's a problem. And they just think, oh no, it's okay. I'll just
No, yeah.
I'll just put this scented candle over here because I like it.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it just, I mean, I'm not
That's
saying anyone's ever done that to me, but it's and even bringing your 12-year-old stepson over to help feed the fish back in the freshwater days,
yes.
and he's dumping the algae wafers correct from the container into the oh, sorry, we put a little too much in, and meanwhile you come back and your fish are half dead from no oxygen because of the algae growing, and
No.
it's just insane.
Just
Insane.
You can't get too mad either because
No.
they came over to watch the tank and
Yeah.
do something good for
It's
you.
it's always a risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have somebody else in the studio, and it's Murphy's Aquatics. So let's bring Pat in. Now,
Pat Murphy.
He gets a pass on the troll question because he's been here before. So we only do the troll question for brand new victims.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Pat.
Yo, Pat. What's up, brother?
Pat, it's the lighting. You look so spooky.
Spooky. Sorry.
The blue light behind you.
There's a lot of that going on the screen I see over here.
You need a green screen because if you're on StreamYard, you can use a green screen too. Not just me, but anybody could use a green screen. So that's what I do. So you don't have to look at my dog licking herself in the armchair back there. Hey, the salty reef. Glad you could make it. Yeah. So what's new with you, Pat?
Not really too much. Not
Still
much
just
at all.
growing those fuzzy corals and.
Yeah. I was working on a old truck I got this last week, so it's running now.
Nice. That's the 94 Ranger?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
We had a I want to say 89 Mazda, and I cannot remember what the model was called. I think it was a couple numbers.
B2000.
Yeah, something like that. That's probably what it was. And it was a stick, and it was charcoal gray with blue pinstripes. And
Nice.
it was a really cool truck to drive. And
Somebody you'd probably get a lot of money for that nowadays.
Yeah, if it had a body left on it, yeah, maybe.
Where'd the body go?
Of course, that's always the problem, right? But we had that thing for several years. We traded in a 1978 yellow Toyota Corolla with brown leather interior.
Oh my gosh!
Which was the car I learned how to drive a stick on.
Holy crap!
And anyway, so it was. Oh yeah.
That color scheme, yellow and brown.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, so I mean, I'm old enough to have lots of experience with lots of old cars.
Nice.
Oh, there's Billy Pipes. Hey, Billy.
Billy's
Wondering if I
in the
should make a
chat?
video on my new build. Yeah, you know what, Billy? You should.
See, this guy tells me he's not coming. He's not making have another tank.
But he's got a new build going on. And
I
it's
hope
not
so.
A reef tank. It's not a reef tank though.
Oh, it's the car?
Yeah, it's gee, what's the year now?
92.
Chevy 92 Chevy S15.
It's older than me.
Yeah, S10. Yeah.
S10. That's right. Okay. Yeah. Billy Pipes is telling you to shut up, Joe.
Oh, did I leak something? Oops. My big mouth. My bad. We could play it off as a fish tank, though, right?
Yeah.
I came into basically share my most frustrating experience with Nano Joe on his tanks just by watching it.
Oh
What?
boy.
What was that be?
Is when you had all the dinos and stuff in your Nuvo, like 20-gallon Nuvo or whatever it was you used to have.
I never had a Nuvo. I only had the I mean a Fluval, my little Nano.
Evo. It was
Evo. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was brutally frustrating to watch that.
It's probably more frustrating for me to go through, not like realizing like what to do with them.
Right.
I
think
have
the
to admit,
whole
Pat, that whole frustrating thing watching, I've run into that with a few reef keepers where every video I see, I go, why are you doing that? I mean, I would never say that to them because everybody does things differently, right? But sitting there just watching and thinking, I don't understand the thought process behind that. And then look what happens. Anyway, so tell us, Pat, what did Nano Joe do?
Yeah, I just remember watching it, and he battled the I think they were dinos, right? He battled those for like 6 months or something.
the
Crazy.
diatoms maybe.
Maybe it was for a long time. Yeah, because you ended up using Chemiclean.
The cyano.
Maybe I don't know what it was.
The I remember going through a frustrating stage of diatoms.
Maybe that was
And
it.
they kept reoccurring to me, and that's probably why I wasn't getting through it. It just kept coming back on me, and that was frustrating.
I think that's when I first started getting on YouTube, basically. So, however many years ago that was, probably when you first started, right?
I think you and I first started around the same time, right? Like 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
On
YouTube,
and I think I met you through Billy. Billy's actually one of the first YouTubers who actually talked to me, believe it or not. Him and I would go into what's his name, RotorTube, right? RotorTube Reef. Familiar with him? Yeah, we'd go into his live streams, and that's where we met. And then we found out we were both from New Jersey, so became friends that way. And then shortly after, we met Mr. Murphy. Now Murphy's got like the best looking tanks I've seen anywhere.
Well, it's. I've tried several reef tanks over the years, and you just got to have. I mean, one right now, like I've always said, now is a great time to be in the reef keeping hobby. There's so much great equipment and so much knowledge you can learn from the internet. Like back when I started, it was reading a book, and that was one person's opinion.
Yeah.
And then I didn't like to read books anyway, so if it didn't have illustrations, I was out anyway. So.
I was reading a book that my father gave me from freshwater keeping back in like early 80s, I think. And it recommended against water changes. So it's crazy to think of like the ideology that they had towards us now, 20, 30 years later, of just doing something so basic as water changes. And I forget what the reasoning was in the book, but it blew my mind. I was just like, it's like
they probably thought it was getting rid of bacteria or something.
Yeah, you're probably right. But it blew my mind. I was just like, this is the first basic thing that you learn is how crucial water change is to your tank. I mean, yeah, there's other ways to get around it now, but I mean, still, I think a lot of us are diehard like doing our water changes because to replace all those elements.
Yeah. Hey, Select Pet. He says, hi all, can't stay, but wanted to stop by and leave a like and show support. Thank you very much. And Roman's Reef is here. Hello, Roman's Reef. Yeah, the whole water change thing. When I started out, I had goldfish. And I would bring them in from the pond every year. And the aquariums they got held in got bigger and bigger and bigger. Started out with just a Rubbermaid tub on the kitchen counter. I mean, my goldfish are 8 or 10 inches long now. They're huge. Some of them are 15 years old. And I didn't know what I was doing. I would bring them in, fill the tank up with water, and as it evaporated, I would just top it up. I never did water changes. I bet the nitrates in that thing were unreadable with any test kit. But gradually I started to learn that maybe that was why they were getting those big tumors on their sides. Was that because I started reading about it and I learned that way. So I could see the result of no water changes, and that's what taught me that I needed to do water changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Oh, hey, Jess Moses. So we have another person in the waiting room.
Another.
That I'd love to bring in. Another.
We got a party going on.
Yeah. And I have to pick out a new pair of troll glasses.
Oh,
These
it's
are
a
good
new one?
ones. These are good ones. Yeah, this is someone who's not been with us before. So this is Metro Cat. I'm going to bring Metro Cat in. Everybody know Metro Cat?
Hello.
Hey, Cat.
Oh my god.
Oh, I can hear
Hello.
myself.
Hello there.
Hello, Metro
Hi.
Cat.
You might have to turn YouTube down, the volume, because it's a delay. That's better. Yay! Awesome.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you? You're in New York. How are things there these days?
It's a hot spot for a lot of things, but it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is my first time on your stream. I'm really enjoying it.
Good. Glad to hear that. So I guess we could ask you a troll question since that's our tradition here. I don't know if you were here at the beginning and you saw Nano Joe get his troll question, but it's kind of a little way to break the ice, get to know you a little bit, and then maybe you can tell us about your reef keeping. And I know of you. I know your involvement in the industry and all of that. So it'd be great to hear about some of that and what's happening these days with things gradually opening up. So let me start with a troll question. We got different glasses this time.
Oh,
These are really good ones. Yeah, these are good ones. Okay, so I'm the troll. I'm guarding the entry to the live stream, and we ask a question just to sort of break the ice and get to know you a little bit better. So, can you, in one sentence, describe your first reef tank?
very small. That got upgraded within the first 6 months. BioCube 14.
Wow, that's a good description. And that whole upgraded in the first 6 months thing, yep, I'm sure that happens a lot.
That's probably very relatable for a lot of people.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, I went to my first Frag swap and I had to set up a Frag tank that very night. And it was like a little, I don't know if it was 5 or 10 gallon that I had sitting around. I don't even know why I had it sitting around, and I just I had to start a Frag tank, and then I just had to go and get another tank pretty much.
Yeah, I've gone to frag swaps intending to get 2 corals because that's all I had space for and come home with 20. So
yes.
I know exactly where you're coming from there. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So what sort of a tank are you running right now?
It's a Red Sea Reefer 350, so it's a total system
Nice.
volume of 91. This is the largest tank. I'm a nano girl, so hey, Nano Joe, I feel you.
Nanos unite.
Yeah, I know, right? So I'm totally a nano girl, but this tank is gorgeous. I don't know if and when I move, if I would downsize, because my favorite tank of all times was a 50 gallon. The dimensions were almost like a 40 breeder, 36, 18, 18. It was perfect. I have this armpit rule. Um,
Yeah.
I'm short, so I need a step stool, but I have this armpit rule. If I can reach the bottom without, soaking anything, I'm good. But this
Yeah.
one is a little bit too tall. I love it though, but I might downsize if I ever moved. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, I was surprised when I measured I have a Reefer XL425, so it's also a 4-foot tank. And it's deeper front to back than the 350, so it has a little bit of extra system volume and a little larger footprint. And I was measuring the depth of it because I totally agree with you about the armpit rule, and I cannot reach the bottom of my tank without getting my shirt sleeves wet. Can't do it. So since I have a new build coming up, I thought I'm not going to make it this deep. I'm going to make it shallower. And I thought this tank was 24 inches deep, and it isn't. It's only 22 inches deep.
Oh.
So, so I don't know what the new tank's going to be. It may have to go 20 or 21 so that I don't have to soak my shirt sleeves when I try and get to the bottom.
I think there's a very important tip or lesson what we're talking about right now, and that's making things easier on yourself.
You're
Right?
right. You're 100% right.
If it's easier to do, you're more likely to do it.
Yep. Yeah, especially with things that are hard to do in the first place. And just to add inconvenience to that, or mess, like me, I absolutely hate the mess that I end up with when I'm fragging or any of that. I have to psych myself up for it. Hey, JV Gwaltney. Moe's Reefs is here. Tyler D. Oh, there's Fishman with a plan. Awesome. So Kat, you're in PR now. I may get this wrong, but you manage PR for people in the industry and businesses. You have reef-related businesses as clients.
That's right. So I have a marketing company and I do social media management and other marketing for several
Right.
brands in the industry. And the most common thing I do for all of them is social media, but I wear different hats for different clients. I do
Mm.
trade show representation for a few, um, newsletters, just a whole bunch of things, brand ambassador programs, affiliate marketing. There's a
Mm.
lot.
Yep.
Hmm,
And
that's cool.
how do you think things are turning around just now with where we are with the closures and all that sort of thing? Do you think that the industry is kind of coming back or still on hold a tiny bit? What's been your observations there?
My observations have actually been extremely positive. All the clients that I work with or work for, and an extended family of brands, everybody is actually doing all right. And
Oh, that's good to hear.
the local fish store is definitely impacted because they can't get into people's homes for servicing, things like that. And if you have a store, you're not allowed to have more than two, three, four, whatever people at one time. So retail, local fish store is definitely impacted. But I don't know if I published a blog, I want to say a week or 2 weeks ago on reefs.com about a new local fish store that just opened, um, the OSA with Scott Crow in Rhode Island. He opened a brand new location, and
Hmm.
that article is about, is there value in the local fish store during COVID? It's really worth a read to get a perspective from a local fish store. He
Mm-hmm.
closed down a currently running successful business, local fish store. He closed his doors to open a brand new one, everything during COVID. And
Wow.
it's a story to really get inspiration from because, well, he's a very positive person, Scott, but his perspective, where people say local fish stores, brick and mortar, they're going to go out of business, they can't compete with the big box stores, online retail. The perspective that Scott has, which I have written in that article, is really worth reading, and it will
Mm-hmm.
give you a lot of hope. And it's going to make you think, if you are a local fish store, it's going to make you think outside of the box. So, besides the brick and mortar that have been impacted because, foot traffic, in person contact and sales and service, that's where their money is. Pretty much the whole industry, as far as I know, is is all right. The shows are losing money, of course, because they had to cancel or postpone.
Yeah.
Um, Besides that, it's not doom and gloom out there.
That's good to hear. Oh, hey, Richmond Reefer. Nice to see you. And Tony Close, UK Reef Cat. Once you go big, smaller is not an option, in my opinion.
You're right, Tony. So maybe I will do the 18 tall, but maybe I'll do a 4 foot
Yeah,
long.
yeah. My problem is I like to see things grow and get big, and I also like that lush wall to wall look. So between those two things, I need big. So that I mean I've gone up and up and up in size. I've had the little teeny tanks. I started with nano tanks, and now I want to have a big girl tank. And the age that I am, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So that's what the next one is going to be, and we'll see. We'll see if I regret it. Sitting here a year from now, we'll see how that goes. But it's kind of exciting.
Would you keep your current
Oh,
tank running if you have a bigger one?
um, right now the reefer, the plan is to sell it, the 425XL,
Okay.
because I don't know where I'm going to store it, what I would do with it, other than turn it into a giant frag tank,
Yeah.
and that doesn't really make sense. So yeah, it's who knows? We'll wait and see how much we sell our house for, whether I have the budget I want for for all the crazy plans I've got.
Try to include in the
Yeah,
closing costs.
yeah. Who
Wow.
else
Well,
we got snuck in?
thank you for having me on, and maybe next time I'll have my camera too.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm so glad you stopped by, and I've been wondering what's going on with the local fish stores, because we need them. And mine is doing curbside. No one's allowed in the store, even though some stores with outside entrances are allowed to operate as long as they have minimal customers in the store. They've decided to just continue with the curbside. And I was there, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, and they seem to be doing okay. And I can finally take frags there. So that means that they are turning over their stock a little bit. So it's encouraging.
Definitely.
All right. Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks for spending some time with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll talk to you
Thanks, Kat.
soon.
Yeah. Good
Thank
night.
you. Bye.
Bye.
I was at my LFS not too long ago, actually, and there was quite a few people still in there shopping. I mean, there was definitely the guidelines being practiced there, but there was
Yeah.
there was people shopping and buying things. Like I even bought
Mm-hmm.
corals myself. I got a new fish while I was there too, and I picked up a couple things I needed, like Cami Pure, things like
Yeah.
that. So I don't wholeheartedly think LFSs will ever go away, to be honest, because like you said, we need them. We can't rely on online sales to be there for us in an emergency, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to pay
Well,
for
I
overnight
need.
shipping on something they need?
Well, I needed some calcium, and I'm going old school with CChem's Reef Calcium. I used it years ago, and I loved it.
Okay.
It's a great thing. It's super concentrated. You don't have to mix it up. It lasts a long time because it's so concentrated. And it's for the holding tank because I'm unable to monitor the levels of the dosing chemicals as closely as I would like. So my first thought was, I'm going to go online and order it and have it shipped. And then I went, wait a minute, I'm going there anyway. So
Yep.
I called them to see if they had it, and they did, so I bought it there. And I just thought to myself, I need to do more of this. Not that it's bad to order online, we all do it.
Yeah.
You don't save money doing it. You really don't. You used to, but I don't think you do anymore for most of the standard chemicals and supplies that we need. I just,
Yeah. I've.
because by the time you pay shipping, you know, and Prime isn't always a competitive price, as I've learned. So yeah,
Yeah, a lot of prices
yeah,
that I've seen in stores too. Like there's a store not too far from me. It's about a 40-minute drive, but I absolutely love going there. But their prices are very competitive to online prices too. So
yeah,
there's LFSs that can do that because the store is still a successful store. It's been there for many many years. Um, but their prices are definitely close, or if not the same as some online retailers. So
yeah, yeah. And it's that person to person thing, that you can shoot the breeze with somebody,
oh
maybe see
yeah,
something you didn't realize you needed.
yeah, it's a great
That
way to
happens
find
to
new
me all the
products
time.
out there too.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
just see like it's a fun experience too. Like who doesn't like going to their local reef store, right?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Marcus's Reef. Pat says he had an 18 by 18 by 6 foot, awesome and easy to work on. Yeah, I bet that was good.
Mhm.
Who else have we got? A whole bunch of people popped in here. Oh, Chase, all right, Chase, I will send that out to you. Richmond Reefer is here. I don't know if I said hi to you, Jose. Nice to see you. Yeah, no decent LFS in Richmond, Virginia. Carlos says Jose moved to Jersey.
Has the best reefers.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let me find this. I'm just going to forward this email to. Who am I sending it to now? Chase. I'm losing my mind.
oh no.
Yeah. All right, Chase, here it comes. I just forwarded the email that I sent out earlier, so hopefully you get it, and if not, let me know. Send me an email at reefgrrl@gmail.com and I'll reply to that one.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
So myself as a reefer, I like to tinker a lot. So I like doing small projects and figuring out alternative ways to get things done. Do you find yourself doing that a lot?
Yes, usually it's because I think something is hugely overpriced and I want to accomplish what that thing accomplishes without paying the big money.
Yep.
And sometimes I end up wishing I had just bought the stupid thing in the first place. Oh, it's happened. But you know, sometimes you come up with perfectly good solutions that do what you need them to do, because that's the other part of this whole equation, the tinkering. So many times stuff that you spend time and money on isn't lasting, in the sense of you use it for a while and then for whatever reason it doesn't work anymore, it doesn't do what you thought it would do, or something better comes along, you just move on from there and do something else. So that kind of feeds into the whole, why would I spend $349 for a macroalgae reactor?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I don't
Those
get
are so
that.
overpriced.
I wish I had that kind of money to throw around.
And it's a $20 project.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
the reason I asked that too is like I've had a DIY project that I've been trying to work on for a couple weeks now. That it's not really a product. I'm explaining it weirdly, but it's something that I've been trying to accomplish. So I've been getting really into cultivating pods and phytoplankton.
Yeah.
So I work at an aquarium, and I've been dosing our reef tanks recently with phytoplankton. So I'm on Amazon. I'm looking for like jars and stuff to cultivate these in.
Mm-hmm.
And the most common one that I've seen a lot of people use in their videos are those summertime beverage containers people have at like picnics and stuff, that are like a gallon or so with a little spigot at the bottom.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at those, but I've only been finding ones that are like, I don't know, $20 or something like that for like a gallon or two. And I'm just like, I don't want to spend $20 on a plastic thing that I can ultimately make myself. So I'm starting to brainstorm ideas to do this. And a good example, hold on one second.
I can give you a lead on that if you need it.
Whoops. Is this dang bucket right here.
So that's like, it looks like a maybe 3-gallon bucket.
This is a 5-gallon bucket.
It's 5-gallon? Okay.
Probably just looks smaller on the camera. But I wanted to put my pods in here and try to grow like a really big colony, right? I know Reef Nutrition kind of sells their own 5-gallon bucket kit, and this is where the idea kind of stems from. But I wanted to be able to view the colony from the front.
Mm-hmm.
So my idea was to stick in a piece of acrylic to the front of this, or I'm sorry, to the inside of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it bending this was a pain in the butt to begin with to get it to perfect curvature to fit inside this bucket.
Yeah.
So what I had to do was this is originally flat, as most acrylic sheets come in anyway, but I put it in the oven. Well, at first I tried a heat gun and it completely destroyed my first acrylic sheet. So did a little research, and then I found Joey, the king of DIY, kind of did something similar. Well, not similar, but taught us how to manipulate the shape of acrylic by just sticking it in the oven on a baking sheet. So that's what I did, right? And I finally get it to the perfect size. So I'm like, oh, awesome, great. Got it to the right curvature, and it kind of sat off the edge a little bit too. So like, whatever, the silicone will do that, just regular aquarium sealant, because that's flexible, right? No, that didn't work at all either too. So the one thing I didn't take into consideration is the fact that if you take out a piece of this bucket, you're ruining the integrity of it. The structural integrity, exactly.
Yeah.
So my dummy brain didn't pick up on that right away. So I was like, at first, okay, it's probably the silicone. Okay, so I got a 2-part epoxy. That didn't work either. And unfortunately, I think I've finally given up on this project just because I've come to terms that this flexing here is ultimately not going to bond too well with this acrylic sheet either. So it just goes to show that all of our DIY projects are not going to work out for us. And unfortunately, there isn't a 5-gallon bucket on Amazon with a clear screen. And if there is one, please send me the link to it. I'm just going to say screw it and buy it. But
well, it depends. It depends what kind of container you want, because I found a food grade water dispenser that I think is around 2.5 gallons. Maybe that's not enough for you, but it's rectangular and it sits on a shelf and it has a spigot on it on the front, and the opening is like maybe 4 inches across. It's a round lid, and where I saw it was, now let me get this right, Hobby Sci, when he was setting up his GHL dosing, the containers he's using for I can't remember what, maybe it's emptying his skimmer. I can't remember why he wanted the spigot, or whether he was even going to use the spigot.
Yeah.
But I saw those, and I wanted it to put in our fridge, so my husband could pour water in and just have a little tap, because he likes the cold water from the fridge, and I don't like having that as a dispenser on the front of my fridge because it just grows bacteria. So I'll send you the link to the one I bought, and it might, even if it's not something you could use for your project, it might lead you to other products, you know, thinking along slightly different lines. But that happens all the time too, doesn't it? You end up veering off in a different direction.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just going to get a clear container, I guess, and just drill the whole saw and put the spigot in and call it a day. I wanted to do something cool. And I even added LEDs to the lid of the bucket, too, to have it shine through it. It looks so cool.
It's a great idea, though.
It was cool, and then I ran a test through it overnight, and it worked fine until I was about to leave for work or something, and it started leaking. I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me.
Oh,
I was so upset, because I put salt water into it. I mixed fresh salt water because I thought everything was fine, and it started leaking on me, and I'm just like, frustrated, done. I'll buy a container, drill the hole myself. I have 20 spigots I bought off Amazon because I thought I was going to make more. But
because it's better to get a whole bunch, right?
Yes.
Because you can, Ichthyo Stuff says there's a Facebook group that grows pods in garbage cans outside. It's crazy. Most of them are from the UK.
Yeah, I guess I could do that, but
I mean, you just never know, right? But I guess it depends where they are. Maybe the climate is more suitable for that.
Yeah.
Oh, look. Thank you, Carlos, paying my monthly membership fee. Thank you for the super chat, Carlos. I really appreciate that. That's lovely. Super. Josh Powell. Hey, ReefGrrl. We have a couple people in the waiting room here too, so I'm gonna just say hi to everybody. Look who it is. Wow, Death Mage.
Ah, Death Mage.
So nice to see you, Death Mage. I hope you're doing well. Look up this bucket, Carlisle 220930, break resistant beverage dispenser, 5-gallon, clear.
Clear, 5-gallon clear. Oh, copy and pasting that.
There you go.
Let's see. Yeah, it it was. I like doing the DIY projects. That's why it kind of took on the project, I guess, initially. Oh, that's a good container.
Yeah.
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 Just have fun with it, but ultimately didn't turn out the way I wanted to. So.
Well, it's good to know about these things, right? Somebody
Yeah.
might give you the perfect idea. Well, look at the clear bucket. We've got Chase V and Murphy's Aquatics. We'll bring you guys in. Hello, Chase. Hello, Pat.
Pat's
Hey,
back.
There
guys.
you are.
No.
Josh Powell says, Nano Joe. And Josh Powell's
Powell.
asking, how are the corals doing in the canister filter tank? They are doing really well. This picture behind me is from the first batch of corals we took over. And my daughter took that picture with a cheapo filter that I had that I took over, just thinking that it would be useful for her to send me videos of things. So yeah, they're doing well. I moved the arch that has the green Goniopora on it, and it was out and waving around within a day. I've moved my Cinerinas, all 3 of them. I have 3 now. A little orange one, and the plaid one, and the brownie purple green one. They are all out and happy. The fox coral is over there, and it's about the size of a volleyball when it's fully out. It's huge. And in fact, tomorrow is the day I'm going to be starting to take my reef apart. I'm going to start at the left side. It's composed of 3 pieces of rock. And I've picked which one I'm going to try and wrench off. And I'll probably video it because it would be a shame not to. And I'll do my best not to swear. And so I can actually use the footage. Oh, look. Pat's showing you something.
That's in a clear container that I need. With a spigot at the bottom. Is that just like a regular water container?
Big mouth.
Nah, it's like for brewing beer, I think.
Oh.
5 gallon though. If you want it, you pay shipping on. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I'll DM you.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's
There you go.
5 gallons. I've
Problem
never used it. So.
That's like
I'm
literally
sold.
perfect for what I want to do. I just need to see through it, pretty much. I just want to be able to
Sure.
keep watching the spot colonies grow.
Got like this little hole on the top, which might be bad for evaporation or whatever, but got like the sealing lid and stuff.
I can seal that top anyway.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Death Mage says she's doing well. So nice to hear. Benny Fernandez. Nano Joe, I made tons of DIY after my 24-gallon Aquatop all-in-one. Made the stand, sump, and drill tank. Yeah, I remember that. That's awesome.
It's like something about this hobby that gets like your brain going of things you can do, like just more than just chemistry and water changes. Like what can I do to improve the overall health of my reef? So I think that's a lot of fun for me personally.
Well, just I've never had a hobby that engaged every bit of my intellect, my patience, my I don't know, like it just takes every ounce of ability that you have sometimes to move forward when there's a problem and I think that's what keeps me coming back, just the sheer challenge of it. And when I see tanks like Pat's.
Yeah, right? You just get jealous.
How about a little tank tour, Pat? Pat, I'm going to do an experiment.
Okay.
I got the Billy Vision, and look, I can see. It's as if you had a filter on your phone. It works.
I do have a filter on it, but maybe not the greatest.
Hey guys, can I ask something real quick?
Yeah.
Sure, Chase.
I
hey,
have
Chase.
I have a fan running in the background that's kind of loud. Is it causing any kind of weird audio from my mic? That you guys are hearing?
No.
Okay.
No,
if it gets loud, just let me know. I can turn it off.
Okay.
Sorry, I
it's
just
just a
wanted to say
little
that.
bit
I
of
didn't
white
want to mess up
noise.
the audio.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Oh, the chat
Yeah,
is
it's a beautiful
jumping.
tank.
Let's make Murphy full screen and he can show us around a little.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen this thing for a long
It-
time now.
it's-
I haven't been paying attention to it. So
No. It shows what a true reefer tanks looks like.
They're dirty most of the time.
They're only clean for YouTube videos, right?
Yeah, most part. Then most of the time it's just a front glass, anyways.
Oh, that's a nice. Is that a frag rock there, or did you drill that?
Yeah, that's Ocean Wonders, 20-hole, whatever, frag rock, whatever.
Oh, nice.
I got two of them. I got one over here too. But it's just temporary for the little frags that I got. Yeah. Decent.
Do they fall out of there at all, or do you glue them in?
The snails, they got holes in it, so the snails kind of try to knock them out, but they're not. They don't really get much accomplished with the holes with the. I got them on those 2-inch disc, and I got a regular frag plug glued to the bottom of it, so they stick right in there.
Oh, nice.
See how they got the 2-inch disc, and then there's a regular frag plug on the bottom of that. So every once in a while they'll knock one out, but not too much.
Yeah, when I need inspiration, Pat, I look at your stuff because I just can't get over the variety of what you have and how it all looks so fluffy and healthy. And even your fish. Awesome.
Yeah.
What's the secret, Pat? Tell us the secrets.
I don't know. What do you want to know?
The secrets, the things I don't know.
I mean, everybody's got a secret, right?
Yeah,
there's something that everybody don't tell. But
what CJ used to call it, the secret sauce.
yeah, I got away from using that terminology because, I mean, it's not secret sauce. It's all just about expanding and learning and trying new things, and just basically, getting into your own and doing things your own way. So
yeah.
One thing that I do, I don't do water changes every week, but to replenish the essential trace elements, I use Kent's products.
Yep.
Instead of the coral killer programs like a lot of people do. Basically the same stuff in it, but it's like 3 times cheaper. So
yeah, I have Kent Tech M and Kent Tech I. I have 2-liter containers of both of those that I used way back when I knew less about what I was doing than I do now. And I probably would use them again if I actually thought I had to. Back then I thought I did, but I've learned so much more now.
I saw a live stream or some kind of stream lately. Aren't Kent products and Brightwell, aren't they kind of like now either tied to each other or kind of similar products?
I think Kent's actually makes one of them somehow. I can't remember who they're affiliated with. It's been a while since I've done that research, but yeah, you're right.
They're tied in somehow. We work with Brightwell and Continuum products at work, so I think there's usually like 3 or 4 major manufacturers that don't get named that make a lot of these products, and it goes for a lot of pet supplies in the industry.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff that we see have another name behind it that we don't see. So like,
I'm gonna give you a top down here in a minute.
Oh yeah.
Well, I like Kent and Brightwell products, so it works out.
Yeah, the Continuum line's really nice stuff too for additives.
Yeah, I have the Continuum Microblast, Phytoblast, and Zooblast, and where I heard about those is from Gallery Aquatica. And so it took some looking, but I finally did find it. And then once I found it in the US, I had to order it off Amazon. Somebody in Canada started carrying it, so now I can get it more locally. So that's good. They're just they went through their feeding routine, Gallery Aquatica, what they do every day, and the sort of stuff they add to their tanks. And it struck me that the quantities they were using weren't extreme, and it was only maybe once a day for some things and once a week for other things. So to simplify things, it's so much better to get stuff that's more concentrated. You have to use less often, and that's kind of the direction I've been going. Less at a time, less often, to do the same thing, because I think then you're less likely to overdose.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've overdosed a lot of products.
Yeah, sometimes not on purpose.
I had a scare recently too. I used H2O2. It's a hydrogen peroxide. It's like 29%
Oh
concentrate,
yeah.
and
Yikes.
I use it all the time to kill hair algae in my clients' tanks and everything. And I think I went a little too crazy on the nano with it. I think I mismeasured. I just probably wasn't paying attention, to be honest, because I'm so comfortable using it. And so my corals weren't really too happy with me for like a week, and I really scared myself because I had new frags from Worldwide Corals in there, and I'm like, no, don't die on me, please.
I know
That's
that
potent
feeling.
peroxide.
Yeah, it's good stuff, but you gotta be really. It'll not burn your skin, but it'll irritate it.
Is that the stuff you can bleach your hair with?
I don't know. I wouldn't use it anywhere near your scalp. Just because it turns like it pretty much just like bubbles the top of your skin into like a white irritation.
Oh,
If you've got on
I
your
bet
skin.
you.
It's
Yeah,
just
I
it's
bet you
really
that's-
itchy. It's not painful.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of where you would get it. I bet you that's the stuff plumbers get for water treatment systems. Because I'm pretty sure my daughter and her husband have a barrel of that
Dang.
stuff, like a 45-gallon drum in their basement because they're on a well.
Oh gosh, we scared that spilling over.
No, it's out of reach. It's
That's
like
good.
back in the hidden corners underneath that house.
It could be nasty stuff.
Yeah. Look at the colors. Look at that pink.
Right?
Wow.
I absolutely love looking at his stuff.
I had to unmute my. I'm draining the tank down so I can get real close shots of the little
Yeah.
acros. So.
They're looking fuzzy still.
That's great.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like I'm finally able to keep acros not only alive but happy and growing. And when I move the 2 rock pillars that have all of the acros on them, I think I might sleep over that night so that I can watch them, because if they're going to RTN, I don't know what I would do. Maybe pull them out and bring them home again. I don't know. I'm thinking they won't, only because everything I've put in that tank has looked so happy. But you just don't know.
Yeah, have some iodine dip with you.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like a lot of people overlook iodine for coral health, especially when you're fragging or something.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
a lot
when
of
I did the toadstool this week, that's the step I forgot. So I actually,
Oh.
within minutes, so I took all of the frags back out of the tank and dipped them, and then put them back on the frag rack.
Just so everybody knows, the rainbow is still alive.
Yay!
Nice.
Rainbow's here. I got some of Dave's ORA still, so.
Is that a rainbow
Nice.
millie?
That?
Yeah, is that what?
No, our friend Dave used to call it the rainbow. It's a bird's nest. But,
Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah.
It's beautiful.
Legacy coral, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of legacy, we're talking about chemicals. When I first started, you could pretty much only get Kent. Maybe some places had sea chem. And remember, we're talking in Canada, where I don't believe there are any manufacturers of this stuff. And now there's a dizzying array of chemicals and products out there. It's just so hard to know what direction to go sometimes.
Yeah. What is it? Snake oil and what is?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they all work to some degree. Yeah. Most of the companies that do put out products are pretty reputable, and I don't feel like they would really put out anything if there wasn't some scientific proof behind it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that nobody wants to destroy, like a $10,000 or $15,000 tank by using their product. So
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you just have to be careful with what you use in combination, and when you're attacking a problem, what products you're using, and not to kind of get crazy with all the options.
Yeah.
But it's nice that there are good and valid options out there.
Yeah.
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 Josh Powell has a question. Hey, Josh, it sounds like you're in the UK. He was talking about getting corals from Ryan at Prestige Reef. Trying Goniopora recently. What do you guys think on addition of manganese for Goni health? I have two. They're doing really well, and I don't add manganese. And that's mainly because I can't test for it. And I might send an ICP test away once the holding tank once everything's moved. But what I've read and what seems to be true is they need feeding. So twice a week I use Reef, and I do it during the feeding of my fish, so the return pump is off. I turn all the rest of the flow off. I have a power bar with one switch that shuts all the rest of the flow off. I mix up my little Reef concoction, because you mix it up and let it sit. And I think this would work with any powdered coral food. People use reefroids, reef bugs. I used reef bugs for a long time, and I will use it again at some point, I'm sure. And then I just target feed by getting a long, small pipette and just puffing it gently around the Goniopora. After about maybe 7 or 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, I turn the power heads back on and let the tank water circulate. And I wait another 10 minutes and I turn the return pump back on, because of course everything's going to start to go down and go through the skimmer and all of that. And honestly, since I started doing the target feeding of the Goniopora, I do the others as well. How healthy they look has been amazing. So I don't know whether I would start dosing the metals or the heavy elements without being able to test for them and making sure that the levels in your tank require them. So that's what I would say.
Like iron. Okay, so you start dosing iron. Like the Hannah makes a tester for that, and it works, but there's such a small amount of iron in your seawater, and there's so much room for error in that testing that it's you could either be super high or super low. It's crazy on how it works.
Yeah. And iodine is another one. The hobby grade test kits we use aren't sensitive enough. So you test for iodine, it looks like you have 0. And if you're me, you start freaking out, because of course 0 iodine is very bad. only to learn that really the test kits we have aren't sensitive enough to pick it up. So you really do need an ICP to figure that out. And somebody gave me some advice. I think it was the guy at the LFS. 1 drop of Lugol's per 50 gallons once a week. So Friday morning is iodine day. I put 1 drop of Lugol's in Mollywood and 2 drops of Lugol's in the big tank. And as soon as I do that, the shrimp usually molt within a few days. So, yeah.
Hey, Cindy, can I ask you a question about that?
Oh, sure.
Have you done the iodine testing?
Yes, I have. I do have an iodine test kit, and every time I test, it shows up as 0.
Did you read the part on the back? I don't know, the one I got, I think it was a Salifert. Did you read the part on the back that said, like, you're supposed to test within, like, I think it's either 6 or 12 hours after you dose iodine to check the actual level? Did you read that part or see that on your tests?
No, I only ever checked iodine. I never did anything in response to the test, because when I kept getting 0, I looked it up, and I think it was Randy Holmes Farley has a really good article. Well, I mean, talk about reef chemistry if you ever want to know anything. I skipped through all of the molecular drawings and all that stuff. And that's where I learned that hobby grade test kits are not sensitive enough for it. So they can tell you if you have too high levels, but they are unable to detect normal levels because they're just not sensitive enough.
Hmm.
So I've
I
never
see.
done it after dosing, but that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, I don't know. The Salifert test says that, you dose, I don't know, however much. I mean, I think I have the like potassium iodate or whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but you dose whatever was on the bottle, I guess. And then the test kit says, test 6 hours after you dose to see what the level is. Because I think it's iodine dissipates quickly or is, bound up quickly in the water.
Yeah, it doesn't accumulate.
So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting because I've heard similar things. I was wondering, are people testing, within a short window after they dose or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I see. You're thinking maybe it puts the results off what
Well,
they
maybe
should
it's showing
be.
0 because you're testing
Yeah.
without, dosing prior, and it dissipates so
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and I would think of it the other way around. I would want to test first and then dose.
I'm the same way. Yeah, but that
Yeah.
was interesting because I did read that on the test kit.
Right. Chase, what size is this tank again? Is this 125?
This is 125. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's from Camaro Kid.
It's going to be going soon. That's my big news. I put an order in for my next display tank because, as I said, this one's a secondhand tank that's probably 10 or 15 years old, and I've already patched one leak on it, and so it's just
Scary.
a ticking time bomb in my opinion. So I ordered a new tank this week.
Nice.
So this one's going to be, it's going to be a slow transition, although, I want to get it down at some point soon.
So, are you putting the new tank near this one, or is it going in a different part of your house?
Well, so this tank right now is in the fish room. So I have my frag tank over here, and then the filtration, refugium. So this is all in this room down off the side of the house. So actually, no, I'm going to be removing this one, and then I want the display tank more in like a living area. So that's going to go. Just started working on the stand, but it's going to go kind of in this area that's up more visible in the living space.
Right.
So.
I was watching. I've been following the BRS series about Randy's big tank that he's built. Not Randy, Ryan's big tank that he's building. And one of the live streams they had was about placement. And one thing they said really stuck with me was put your tank where you're going to see it a lot, because not many people have reef tanks in their houses, and anyone who comes in and sees it will think it's the coolest thing they've ever seen. So put it somewhere that not only you and your family, but anybody who comes around, it gives you a chance to kind of show people what it's about. And especially if it's in a living area, you'll be around the rest of your family when you're looking after it. And so that's one of the reasons I have a fish room. It's a bedroom on the main floor of our new house. You come in the front door, and to the left is going to be a set of double doors, and it leads to the fish room.
Nice.
And originally we were talking about basement, and I just went, you know what? I don't want it in the basement, because I'll always feel as if I have to leave the rest of the house to go there.
I think from the flip side too is like the livestock. Like I want them to see me a lot too, because I want them to be like feel more natural when I come around the tank,
Yeah, not run and hide. Yeah.
Yeah, like I come down to the fish room and they're like, "Who's this guy like coming into our space?" Whereas because I'm in the living room all the time, So
Yeah.
I want them to be more comfortable too.
Yeah. Interesting. So, what are the details? Are you? Is it going to be a surprise, or can you? Where'd you order it from?
Well, I don't have any channel to document anything, so I'm happy to tell you guys about it. It's I got from Custom Aquarium, so I'm sure you're all familiar
Yep.
with it.
Yep.
It's 6 foot long, 3 foot deep, and 22 inches high.
So around what, 265, something like that?
Yeah, I think it's 255 or 245.
Nice.
Yeah, if it was 24 tall, it would be quite a bit more. But I just wanted it a little shorter to keep the aquascape manageable.
Right. Oh, that sounds nice. So what's your timeline?
Well, I just gave them kind of the final documents for it all. So they still have to give me like a delivery date thing. But I'm fine, taking, if it's going to take 2 or 3 months to get here, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Because I'm just working on I'm building the stand, and I had to build the canopy and everything like that. So
Nice.
I knew I was getting a new display, so I've already plumbed the sump to accept the new display. I just have to cut out some of these temporary lines that I've done, and replumb them with the new plumbing from the display tank, and it'll all just drain right into this same sump. So I have to work on the plumbing a little bit, get the woodwork and the stand built. I got to make a burley stand. It's a big tank. So that's all in the works.
Nice.
But another thing I noticed, which I'm worried. Another thing I was worried about is I have these 2 center braces here.
Yeah.
And they're actually metal, but I coated them a few times with some enamel type paint, whatever, I don't know. But in 2 years it's eaten right through that, and the metal's even starting to rust. So
Wow.
I'm like,
it's amazing, isn't it? It's so corrosive.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, I guess that's dosing some trace elements for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not ones you
GFO.
always want.
Yeah,
That's
luckily
funny.
I do run GFO and I change it out pretty often.
That's good.
Wow. Death Mage is asking, have I seen mastic fish food tabs? She loves it because I like to stick fish food on the glass. The mastic already comes in small cubes in a jar. Oh, that's a great idea. Lots of people really like the mastic food. I've seen really good things about it. In my case, my snails liked it. I don't know if you guys remember. I can't even remember if it was a video or Instagram or what it was. I think it was a video of the snails devouring the mastic on the little spool, but my fish really couldn't figure out what the heck it was.
And it's weird stuff at first.
Yeah, no kidding. Girl, it is so nice and easier to use. Well, you know what? Death Mage, I might try it again sometime when I have some of the big fish, some of the types of fish I'm going to get for the new tank. Cool. I started working on a video of the holding tank right from the start, and I'm halfway through the voiceover, so hopefully I'll have that out in a few days. And when I went back through all the footage, I didn't realize it was last November when we actually started setting that tank up. And I didn't even start the cycle until February. So it has been running for a long time now, and I'm hoping the maturity of it will help. So Chase, when you start moving everything over, are you going to set the new tank up and just let it cycle for itself and gradually move stuff, do you think?
I haven't thought of the exact step-by-step. I'm definitely going to get it in there. I want to have time to mess with the aquascape,
Yeah.
And just drill the holes where I think I want to have different SPS and different frags, and just take time to think about it and not rush it. mean, because even this build here, I mean, I took time with the aquascape and stuff, but there's still improvements I'd like to make. So, you know, just taking time doing that. Once that's done, incorporating it into the system. I mean, I just experienced tying the 125 gallon into, because I had the Frag tank and this sump running separately from the 125, and then I plumbed them together, which in the end turned out to be a great move. I've loved everything that's come of that, but the transition was tough. So I'm a little concerned about, you know, it's going to be the same thing, plumbing in a new volume of water and new stuff into the existing system. So there's going to be some shock there. What I've done actually is just really ramped up my testing and managed my parameters a lot closer, just because they've been shifting. You know, my alkalinity, for one, it bottomed out at 6.9 actually when I combined the two systems, which I've never had it that low.
Right.
And I just had to, you know, do a little bit of maintenance, like bolus dosing, and then I've, you know, turned up my doser per day and just tried to catch up with what was going on. You know, so just trying to anticipate some of that stuff. But, you know, once I get the aquascape and I feel confident about that, I'll probably end up fragging a lot of this stuff, transferring it into the Frag tank, selling some of the frags, hopefully to local guys and people around, or my LFS, you know, getting store credit and stuff. Kind of managing some of the colonies in there, and then maybe transfer them over to the Frag system and put some seeders in the big tank. I don't know. I'll probably get the existing fish over there pretty quick once the systems are tied in. But
so you're gonna tie the new tank into your Frag tank?
Yeah, so it'll be just the same as what's happening now, except this display tank will be that display tank over there.
Right. Okay.
The plumbing will be a little different, but I like having the two systems tied together.
Because
Because
makes things so much easier.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we were double testing. My fiance is awesome, and she tests with me, so she does half the test. But
that's cool.
You know, having the two tanks, it's still a lot of work. And I have another nano tank in my room, so there's another tank over there that I have to test. That's
more testing,
and all in one. So, you know, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it becomes like, you know, you dread it almost. You're like, oh, I gotta repeat every test every time, and then if there's a mistake, then you're repeating again. So, I've liked the two systems tied together. The Frag tank had a little issues on its own because, as you can see, I don't have any rock work in here. There's just two bins with light sand because I have a wrasse, and there's some corals that I just like to put on the sand. But you know, there's not a lot of room for biological, except now that it's tied into everything else. But before it was just the sump and that tank. I did have a few rocks in there, but it was struggling. The corals lost a lot of color. The parameters plummeted. And so since I've tied the two together, it was a little rocky at first, but it's really leveled out. So
that's nice.
Yeah, it's the adjustment period that it has to go through. Josh Powell is saying that he loves your gold A-cans.
Yeah, I really like those.
Beautiful. Hey, Skookumchuck Reefer. Glad to see you. Yeah, I don't know. I found out today that the alk in the Red Sea Reefer is 12.4.
Ooh.
And in the holding tank is 10.4, and in Mollywood is 10.68 something.
What's going on over there?
I think it's the new batch of reagent that I just opened up for my Hannah checker. So I can't test using my Salifert because the Salifert kit is at the other tank. So tomorrow I'm taking pieces of the reef over, and I'm going to cross-check those numbers because I can't imagine that they're that high. But then on the other hand, I have been managing feeding very, very carefully to reduce demand so that when I move things over, they won't, like I don't want them to grow really fast. I would much rather have them grow slower as long as they're healthy for the period of time when they're going to be in that other tank, because the footprint is different, and I'm a little concerned that in the 6 or 8 months that the stuff's going to be there, I'm going to start having serious space problems. So I don't know whether this is going to work. I don't know whether I know enough to be able to manage that growth, like damp it down a little bit. I've slowly been weaning them off some of the trace elements. And yeah, to find that out with the alkalinity test today, I can only think that it's because there's something up with the reagent, or they've stopped uptaking alkalinity because I am being successful in slowing down the growth. I don't know which it is.
So many variables.
So I guess I'll find out. Oh, no kidding. And you think you're on top of it. You really think you're on top of it. You're just not, right?
I couldn't really imagine a coral's not taking in the alk, though. You know?
Yeah, this is it. Because they're getting the light. Everything else is the same. It's just the
How long have they been over there, Cindy?
The ones over there, the archway that I moved from the sand and the cinerinas have been there for about a week. Everything else has been there for almost a month now. And I don't really have SPS there yet. Those are all still in my current tank because they're all up on the central rockwork. So, yeah, it's, and you know, talk about testing. I know what you mean. It takes me an hour to do my testing because of the way I do it. I tend to clean out each vial as I use it, and it just is a lot of back and forth to the sink. And if I would just settle down and do it all in one sitting and not be jumping up and down every 5 minutes, it would probably go faster. So I may have to do that. Hey, Johnny Martinez. Yep, good night. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, auto testers are really appealing in that regard, but gosh, I wish they were more affordable and reliable.
Yeah, I don't mind spending the money if I can rely on it, and I'm not sure the technology is quite there yet.
They actually had, if you're referring to the Tritons, they actually had a little bit of a hiccup with them recently, too. That, since because of the whole COVID situation and shipping things across the seas, that some of the reagents got held up at like customs or something, and people were getting the reagents late, and being older reagents, they were giving people false readings.
Oh no!
So I had all these people freaking out, trying to figure out what is wrong, and then finally someone did a lab grade test. I think it was just for the I think it was the alkalinity, maybe. But they finally figured it out, and everyone figured they had a bad batch of reagents.
Oh no!
So it's crazy what could happen.
Yep. Well, I'm looking at the GHL setup, and I don't know. I have to do a lot more research. I'm hoping to do that during the summer when I don't have reef tanks in my house while I'm waiting to move out after we sell the house, and then decide what to do.
Yeah.
So, Chase, have they given you any dates or anything like that?
No, like I said, I just sent some final edits to the guy today.
Oh, right. Okay.
I mean, although I've paid for it already, so I still have to hear back and put a signature on that paperwork. But
right.
So I have to do that before I hear about it.
Yeah, when I get mine done, apparently it's a 10-week build.
Yeah, that's about what I've heard. I mean, I could expect maybe some delays if they're having like staffing restrictions, but I'm guessing some of that is clearing up by now.
Yeah, things are opening up slowly.
But yeah, I'm excited. Man. I mean, got a lot of work to do. One of the other things I have to do is I have a crawl space under my house, so I have to go under, and I already brought, I have 10,000-pound floor jacks that I have 4 of them that I'm going to put supports underneath the house to support that tank. So I've been dragging my feet on that. But
to get under there to do it.
I have all the stuff to do it. I just got to do it.
That's rough.
So.
And what's the flooring?
It's tile.
Tile? Oh, good.
Tile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So
we've been reading about crushing force and all that kind of thing, and the flooring material makes a huge difference, because no matter how much support you have, if you have anything off level and you get material that will crush, it just becomes a nightmare.
Yeah. I live in New Mexico. I think I divulged that at some point. But tile's like really common here, for flooring. My whole house is pretty much tile, except I redid the bedrooms with carpet. So yeah, that's pretty much the case. So it's convenient in that regard, because I've had a few RODI overflows down here. So
Well, this is an easy cleanup on that tile.
yeah.
I sometimes think that's the initiation of reef keepers, is, if you remember the first time your RODI overflowed because you forgot about it.
Oh.
Yeah.
How are you going to plumb it over to the... oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Broke Reef Man is asking GHL what? Probably the KH director, the Profilux, and the doser, and the ion director. Now, apparently ion director is undergoing some sort of changes, or it's not going to be available till later in the year. I don't know whether the KH director and the ion director are all, like, whether KH is measured as part of the ion director or what. I haven't done enough research to know what the different components are, but a lot of YouTubers and other reef keepers I respect use GHL equipment for testing and as a controller. And once I get a chance to read through the hundreds of pages of forum discussion, I should be able to form somewhat of an opinion.
There's so much
I know.
information, so many opinions.
Well, and the thing is, what bugs some people might not bug me, and what some people they don't care about might drive me nuts. So it takes a long time for me to decide to make a decision like this, because you have to decide what level of annoyance to live with, because there's always something.
Well, yeah. Do you ever read product reviews and it's like a 1-star review, and the thing they're complaining about is like, sometimes that happens. It's nothing that was the problem with the product or whatever. It's just like, it happened in shipping or, something. It's just funny sometimes what people complain about.
They bought the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And the thing they bought doesn't do what they want, but it's very clear that, they would have known if they would have done some research that it's not going to do what they want, right? So, yeah. Yeah, we learned with going on cruises how to take reviews with a grain of salt. And you soon realize who is basically expressing how picky they are versus actual problems. And my big thing too is customer service. If I have a problem, I want to know that they're willing to help me solve it. And some products just aren't. So, you have to find that out.
Can I do a product shout out in that regard? Because I just had a good customer service experience with an aquarium product. So do you remember like a month ago when I told you I got that UV sterilizer that had that leak?
Yep.
And I contacted the people and they sent me the new part like the next day. Mm-hmm. Turns out USPS either lost that. They said it was delivered, but I never got the package. So I contacted the company and they sent me another one.
Wow.
They sent me another part. Like they're gonna send it out, and I patched the leak myself, and it's been working. And I told them that, but they're gonna send me the part anyway. So that was the Aqua UV.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, that's cool.
The Aqua UV company.
That's what we use at
So,
work. We use
she
them
was-
for all of our tanks.
The rep was really accommodating to that, and I was like, oh, that's really nice of you to offer to send another one.
They're good products too, man. They last a long time. Like we've
Yeah,
had.
I'll have to keep that in.
They're durable.
Have to keep that in mind going
Yeah.
forward when it comes time for a UV for the next system. Tar Heel Reefer has a question about RODI. Hello, Tar Heel Reefer. I got a used RODI system, cleaned it out, added new filters and DI resin. How long should I flush the new filters? Have you guys got any experience with that?
I think you like get rid of your first 30 gallons of RODI made with new cartridges. I believe,
Yeah,
but I've never done that, to be honest with you. I've always put new cartridges in it and went along with it. I never had any issues with it. And
I think too, he doesn't say whether he has a TDS meter. And I know in our system, we have a TDS meter in 2 different places. And that's to check which of the 4, well actually it's 5 stages, where the issue is as far as what needs to be replaced. So I would say if you can get one of those inline TDS meters, as soon as you hit 0 TDS, I don't think you need to do any more flushing.
yeah, I think there's a recommendation
Yeah,
for
that's what I've done.
a newly set up RODI system is get rid of a certain amount of water after brand new cartridges are put in. But like I said, I've never done that before personally.
Well, here we have a whole bunch of answers in the chat. I flush my roadie for 2 minutes before and after 25 liters.
Okay.
Calypso's Reefs does 15 minutes. WVU Reefer, you flush filters for 2 minutes after the first use. So there you go. Take your pick.
Yeah, right.
I've actually I would do that for my filter changes, but I would just turn on my RODI and like fill up my container. But I've actually started watching the TDS meter and measuring the amount I needed to flush out for it to go from, I think when my input water is about 170 and my output, of course, I want at 0. And when I first turn it on, it'll spike up to like 20, 30, and then come down relatively quickly to 0. But I've recently started measuring the volumes of the flush, and it's just a little less than a gallon that usually I have to flush through to get the TDS back to 0.
Okay, wow.
So it could
then
be different
just-
for everyone then, depending on how high your source water is in TDS.
Yeah, that probably
Yeah.
makes a difference.
That
yeah.
makes So that's actually a really good way to do it, Chase.
Broke Reef Man says 5 gallons should be plenty. Tar Heel Reefer says he does have a TDS in and out, it's 0 out. And WVU Reefer, you only flush after the first use because of scaling on the RO membrane. So I have to confess, I don't take care of that. My husband watches it, and he keeps right on top of that. So as soon as the TDS starts to read 2 or 3, he'll swap out the cartridge and he'll write the date on a piece of tape on the outside because they're supposed to last X number of weeks. But our water supply here, the average TDS out of the tap is between 500 and 600.
Whoa.
It's awful.
Whoa.
And at one time it was double that when they were having problems with the well field they were using. But yeah.
That's scary.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. We were losing, this is when we had freshwater fish, and we were losing barbs and tetras by the dozens because the water was so hard, like so alkaline, they couldn't handle it.
That's crazy.
Josh Powell says his input is 269, so he flushes regularly just to be sure. Yeah. What is this we're looking at, Chase? Is that a chalice?
It's chalice. I recently
And-
had to move it away from this Lobo because it stung the side of it. It's actually in the back. You can't see it. But
right.
I
Look
came
at the
down one morning
colors.
and I came down one morning and this Lobo had just put out its stingers. I actually thought the chalice, because this one actually has like 2.5, 3-inch stingers at night. So I actually thought the chalice was attacking the Lobo, but I was really wrong. The Lobo sent out a ton of the like mesenteric filaments and just totally. It only took out about like a semicircle, like half the size of a quarter on the side of the chalice. So they're now about 3.5, 4 inches apart.
Yeah. The thing about Lobos and that white stuff that comes out, as you said, the mesenterial filaments, that stuff is like vicious. When the tentacles, the sweeper tentacles come out, they latch onto something and they maybe sting it a little bit. But man, when those Lobos push out their guts, whatever it touches basically fries immediately. It's terrible. Mike says, wow, that looks good. Hi, Mike.
The only thing I've had kill a Lobo is this tongue coral.
Oh, is that right? And the tongue, what does it put out to kill? Is it, or is it just
I don't know. The Lobo fell into it, so.
Whoa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if they were side by side. Maybe if the Lobo had some time to put out the mesenteric filaments, maybe it would win the battle, but it did not win a direct contact battle.
Wow.
Yeah, I like the tongue corals. That's one I would like to get.
Yeah, my clownfish have been hosting in this lately because it's huge.
Yeah. My clownfish has actually been trying to host a Zoa frag that I have. I've never seen a clownfish try to host a Zoa before.
That's all right. Mine hosts the powerheads. So they're the ones that go on and off every 2 minutes. So I don't know how they feel about that, but they haven't tried to rip the basket off lately, so
that's good.
I guess it's okay. It's going to be interesting when I move to the other tank, because the corner where they would normally live, the back right corner in the other tank, has the output from, like, the return from one of the canister filters. And there's so much flow in that tank now, I'm not sure what I'm going to need in terms of power heads. Look at the colors on that. Wow, that seems to get brighter every time we see it. That is cool.
Yeah, it's doing good. I'm happy with that one. My other, these are my more recent SPS editions, and they're really starting to do pretty good. I had a little bit of an algae breakout because my phosphates got up over 0.1. So excuse the algae you see there, but
That's just cyano.
It just looks like that on the gel filter.
Yeah, it looks like cyano.
but I think it's just like the green with the blue lights and the gel filter. So
well, good night, Calypsos. Thanks for coming by. Josh Powell's asking about chalice in low or high light. He moved his to higher light. It seems to be sulking. I've always tried to keep them on the sand or close to the bottom.
I can show you where all mine are.
Yeah, that's...
Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
There's one on the sand. And here's one a little higher up in lower light. Sorry, I didn't clean this glass over here. So that one's a low light one. Those are both pretty low light. Although, I mean, I do have radions over this 2-foot deep tank, and they go at 100%. So they do get some light down there. And then I have some higher up. This one's like high. This one's a little bit higher light one, although the lights are off on this side of the tank. I also have one over here. I would say low light in general in my tank.
I had always read low light and decent flow, but not too much.
You can't see those ones anymore. Oh, there it is, dead center. I have some in the frag tank over here. So you can see that one. That's that same higher light one.
Yep.
The lights over my frag tank are 2 feet off the water, and it's a foot deep frag tank. So this one's hanging out with lobos, other kind of low demand corals. So, and then I have some in the back over here of that same coral that are kind of on the edge that don't get a ton of light.
So would you say like medium flow for them too?
Yeah, medium flow's fine. They could actually tolerate high flow. I don't see why not. But they don't necessarily need it.
The main thing is not to let detritus settle on them.
Yeah, it depends how they grow. A lot of them grow in kind of a cup or chalice, type formation. If you have really high light, they'll base out for a while. But if they're reaching out, I think they'll go up towards the light a little bit.
Hey, Eggboy64. Late to the party, probably mentioned already, but fun to see Molly World. Yep. I was saying it early in the stream that I made it to the big time with Mollywood on the BRS Reacts video today. Davis Jew, hey Don.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of made it sound like it caught him off guard. Like, I thought he definitely would know who you are. Do you feel like he knew?
Oh, yeah, no.
I don't know. I feel like he it was like he made it sound like he'd never heard of you before, but I feel like you're a pretty prominent Aquarius YouTuber.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was great though, and I'm so happy to get the sort of feedback on it. And Mollywood is different. It's one of those
totally
things.
Unique.
People. I set that reef tank up for them because a fish store wanted me to breed them and then let me down, and I was not about to dispose of them, so that's what I did just for fun. And the other thing I did on purpose was to swing over to the other tank right in the last few seconds. Oh yeah, by the way, this is my other tank. And his reaction was exactly what I had hoped, which like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh, hey, fellow reefer. And Mike is asking, do you guys buy your corals from your LFS or from some online dealers? I buy in person all the time now, if possible, because of some bad experiences I had. And that's not to say that buying online is bad, just that in my particular case, a couple times in a row, I had disasters. I will probably buy online again someday, but for now, I try to buy in person, which isn't all that easy.
I do both. Well, recently started doing both, I should say. I bought my first online corals this past month, actually.
Or just
ever,
recently?
Yeah, because I've always been so scared of
Really?
shipping, and I didn't really want to pay for the shipping either.
Right.
But I did it with Worldwide Corals, and it was a really good experience. So
Nice.
then I bought another online order from them, not too far from that order. So it's both been a good experiences so far. So I'll probably definitely keep doing it, but I do prefer going to the LFS for it.
Yeah,
Same.
in my case, that it's the one retailer that I really, really always used that I really liked started over correcting his photographs, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I had a couple disappointments where what I got, it was almost like, wait a minute, did he send me the wrong thing? And,
yeah, it's like, that wasn't even close.
And the thing is, I learned to start saving the pictures so that I could compare, because there are things you can compare, like the pattern of coralline algae or the branching, whatever. There are ways you can tell if it is the same item. The other thing he started doing was using the same identical photographs for WYSIWYG corals. And they're
Yeah.
different prices. I hate that. If it's WYSIWYG, show me the picture of the thing. It shouldn't be the same picture that you have in 3 other places with different prices. When I started seeing that, I just went, you know what, this isn't going to work for me anymore. So
Yeah.
WYSIWYG.
So Billy
Oh,
Pipes wants to
that's-
know if anyone's interested in a 6-stage, 150 gallon per day rota unit. I'm sure you can get hold of Billy Pipes on Insta, or well, perhaps YouTube might be easier if anybody's interested. Hit him up. He's in New Jersey.
Is that the same one he's selling for $20?
$20. Yeah, Billy. $20. Hey, Drama D. Dinner has been served. Good evening, everyone. Josh Powell had the same experience as me, Joe. I got such bad feels from the anemone video from years ago. Nano Joe made me decide to leave the anemones from my reef.
I don't want to turn people completely off to it. It's just my
No,
amateur mistake.
It's a learning experience.
Yes, it's a very learning experience.
Yeah. I'm about to trade. I have a bird's nest frag, a couple bird's nest frags. From that, this is a small. This I took the mother colony out actually, and this is just what's regrown from it. But even the frags I have are probably 4 times as big as that off of it in the frag tank.
Wow.
But
Wow.
some guy wants it, so I'm gonna trade for a bubble tip, and that's what's gonna go in my nano tank that I've set up over in my bedroom. I have a couple Ocellaris clowns in there, and just gonna put some anemones in there.
It's fun to watch the clowns host in there.
But I don't
They're
want to
such
put it in the
strange
main
little
reef.
creatures. No, that's risky, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have enough problems with corals that are stationary.
They don't need a roaming stinger going around getting everybody.
Even the ones like in the big tank, I have some citrus rhodactis. I also have some bullseye rhodactis, and then I have the evil dark purple with chocolate brown with turquoise mushrooms of doom that overtake everything. And those dark purple mushrooms are pushing away the bullseye rhodactis to the point where it's rotated right around the back of the pile of rock. I can't see it anymore. The citrus rhodactis are on the opposite side of the tank, low down on one of the arch rocks, and they're starting to engulf my orange rainbow palithoa, which are slow growers to begin with, and now all of a sudden I've got these citrus rhodactis all over them. The citrus things are really, really beautiful and expensive, and so I shouldn't be complaining too much, but I just don't like the fact they're overgrowing everything, and they've moved up about 4 inches from where I first placed them. Like, those things walk everywhere.
Wow.
I'm trying to do a top down, but the lighting.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Those are my
Pink with
millies.
Nice. What's the pink with blue over on the upper left there?
The very upper left corner now.
Yeah.
That's actually was called a copper millie, and when the lights are full and it's more of like a 10K white light, you really get copper colors coming out of it. But when the blues, because it's late right now for my tank, you see more of kind of like the purple, yellow, and green kind of underneath in the tissue.
Nice.
It's really
That's
nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So there's in the center next to that kind of a couple of probably 3-4 inches. There's that purple and green one. That's a rose acro. It's called a rose acropora. It's a nice pink tips and the green body. So that's one that I kind of had a tough transfer into my tank from the LFS that now that I got it situated, I always find this with corals. Once you glue them into a spot, get them really secure and just leave them alone, that's when they color up. That's when they start growing. That's when they start encrusting. It's a lot harder for them, even if they're on, even on this frag rack where they're not glued, even just being on the frags not glued, I feel like they have a hard time. But once I glue them to the rock, they seem to come back.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they need that base so that they can establish themselves in whatever flow is there. And if they're always moving around just a tiny amount, it just discourages the growth.
Something about it, yeah. So there's a Miyagi tort next to that, starting to get some of the. It purpled out on me, but it's starting to get some of its green base back.
Yeah, my Miyagi is looking huge and amazing, and even the frags I took, I have some in Mollywood, some in the other tank, and some in the Red Sea. Even the frags have polyps out, and the color is quite good.
Yeah. A couple other small.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Josh Powell is asking about your zoanthids there. Those orange ones, I'm thinking to the left at the bottom. Are they named or just random LFS? Oh, that's that rock.
Yeah. Blessing and a curse.
Is that the Are they the
carpet.
Twizzlers? The Twizzlers?
Yeah, those are the Twizzlers. I can't get rid of them fast enough. I basically give them out as like a grab bag frag when you come over.
It's like GSP.
Yeah.
It grows and grows and grows. It looks nice though.
So
it looks really cool.
It does. It's so intense.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just like glowing.
Mike is asking if you guys have a large reefing community. In South Carolina, it seems everyone has either got out of the hobby or they're trying to become millionaires off of selling corals.
I try to sell really cheap frags. I usually don't sell anything over $20, even the SPS stuff. Most stuff is like $10. And just try to be nice to people. And the other thing I do is whenever I sell frags, I just message them and follow up like, hey, how's it going? How's that frag doing for you? And try to be like just more friendly towards people. And I found that those are the kind of people that I have just more regular interaction with. And like, if you have some issue or you're looking for help on something, but I'd say in my area in New Mexico, there's probably half a dozen people that you can like reliably go over to their house and buy frags off of and know you're getting a decent deal and they're good frags. And then we have two good LFSs in town.
Damn, you're lucky.
That sounds ideal. How about you, Joe? Well, you're being in the business, you probably run into this all over the place, I would imagine.
From a hobby standpoint, it's not really too saturated down where I am. I'm in southern New Jersey. I know of one other guy that's really into the hobby like me, and he actually works with me, so
we're buddies.
So yeah. But there's not really a lot of other hobbyists around here that are actually putting themselves out there. So, and the couple that I knew in South Jersey are out of the hobby now, and it seems like Pennsylvania is a little bit more of a better like the surrounding area around Philadelphia seems to have a little bit more of a buzz.
PR Fish Girl, I think she's in Monica. She's in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
In Philadelphia, maybe.
That's not too far from me. I'm about 45 minutes from Philly.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking of doing a video with some hints and tips on how to take frags or how to get the best deal taking your frags to the local fish store for credit. Because it seems to me that people don't, um, when they take their frags to a fish store, they expect to get a lot of money for them.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
But
Yeah.
no, because there's so many other variables when it comes to that. They have overhead. They have to assume the risk once they take frags from somebody else's tank. Are they going to live? Are people bringing them stuff they actually can sell?
Yeah.
Or is it too much of it? So I was thinking of doing like a little hints and tips, top 5 ways to get the most for your frags from your LFS. And a lot of it has to do with managing your expectations and asking yourself, isn't it better to get $5 for this than throw it in the garbage?
Yeah, just
that kind
being
of
humble about it. The biggest thing too is like a lot of these LFSs are getting transshipped corals, so they're getting some frags for like $5 that are pulled out of the ocean, and they're flipping them for
Yeah, yeah,
X amount of money. So if you're trying to make money going to
Yeah.
your LFS with frags, and you don't have that relationship with them, then don't expect much money.
yeah. And I don't think you can ever look at it as a way to make money. I mean, when I take my stuff to the LFS, I'm always really happy with what he gives me for it. And for my part, I try to mount them well, make sure they're healed, make sure they don't have algae or any other pests on them when I take them in. Don't cut it on a Monday and take it on a Tuesday. Try to give them lots of
Yeah.
time. Make sure that you're actually giving him something he can use instead of, 100 of the same thing that he probably couldn't turn over in a year. That kind of stuff.
hmm
Yeah.
I've seen.
When I sell frag,
Oh,
sorry,
bud.
go ahead.
I've seen the best thing you can do is just build that relationship at first with them, and then you might be getting better prices for your stuff too if you become more of like a supplier to them, especially
Yeah,
like
yeah,
if you're really fragging a lot of stuff too. But I think the best thing you could do is just try to build that healthy relationship first rather than
yeah,
seeing it as a business relationship.
yeah. I
Unless you're
agree with
like
you.
someone who's been in the business for many years and knows what they're doing, but as a hobbyist from a standpoint like that, you're just kind of getting your feet wet with selling frags.
Yeah.
Just build that strong, friendly, humble relationship with your LFS, and then you'll see much better success months down the road.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I give him big bags of Chaeto when I harvest it. I know I
Mhm.
could probably sell it, but you know what? I'd much rather just give it to him because my
It's Cheeto.
alternative is to throw it. I'd be throwing it away. So I
Yeah.
would much rather see him get some use out of it. No, I really like my LFS. I think they do well by me, and I'm really impressed with how far they've come compared to where they were even 3 or 4 years ago. So I want to make sure that I help them stay where they are when I need them, right? And I think we all
Yep.
need to think that way. Fellow Reefer is asking, do you guys have a presence on Instagram? I'd love to get some frags from him. I think he's talking about you, Chase. I love to get things that's tank grown or aquaculture to keep the wildlife in the ocean. And he says he can pick up on his way home from North Carolina to Georgia. Chase, you're in New Mexico. Not
That's a little bit of a
really
detour.
Yeah.
A little bit. A
Might be
road
a nice
trip.
little vacation. Yeah.
But I don't ship anything out. I just sell locally to guys, and kind of to go along with what Joe was saying. I just try to treat people like what I would want to get out of my LFS. I don't really sell people frags unless they're really healthy and thriving, and
Yeah.
just being honest with people. And I like this, the LFS I go to, I talk to the guy, and I just get that vibe from him as well. Like he's not trying to, just get money out of me or whatever. And
No.
when I do trade-ins, he usually gives me good deals on it. I brought him like 30 heads of this hammer there.
Oh yeah.
And it was funny. He gave me like, I think I think like $120 store credit or something.
Yeah.
And his father works with him in the shop, and the guy had it sawed up and fragged out before I even left the store. You know, he had like 30 frags from the thing I just had brought in. It was just kind of funny. I was like, processed it, got it ready, and I was like, good for him. You know, if he can make a lot of money off that, I'm happy to make that trade. You know, and just, you know, support him if he feels good about it, and then, you know, that's $100 in the store that I can, you know, just buy stuff to maintain the tank with.
Paying for your salt.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
I'll never forget when I used to sell cars, my boss always said, profit is not a dirty word. And it isn't. So if a business needs to make a profit to stay in business, how can that be bad when you need that business to help you with your hobby?
Yep.
And why begrudge someone making a living? Because there is so much risk. When, I mean, we know the risk. If something happens to crash our tank, imagine the risk to them if they end up with a crash. It's you know. So yeah, I agree. I would never see myself as anything except someone trying to pass along what I'm trimming back to keep my tank healthy, and at the same time it gives me an opportunity to start gathering the gift cards for when I need to make a big purchase. And it's happened a couple of times and already come in useful.
yeah.
Yes, I bought myself an acanthophilia this week. I have to go pick it up from my LFS, and I'm going to be using some of my gift cards. And it was not cheap, but it was a color I have never seen before in an acanthophilia. So, yeah. Otherwise, I would never be able to afford it.
It depends on the coral, right? Like, I feel like some corals in my tank are bulletproof. So like if it's just like an awesome looking coral, like for example chalices, if it's just an amazing looking chalice, I don't have a problem spending a little extra money to get it, because like the chalices I know just take off in my tank.
Yeah.
I never have a problem with chalices, and there's other corals like that for me. But there's some corals, like expensive LPS, like certain torches and hammers, that I just won't spend $200 or $300 on a single head, because it may be a 50-50 shot whether I get a brown jelly or some other bacterial thing that I can't reverse.
Exactly.
And just that coral goes up in smoke. Same with some of the SPS, although I'm feeling a little more comfortable these days with the SPS. But, you know, the expensive LPS, because they're so, I feel like it's hard to pull the trigger on some of those. But some corals you can just be like, yeah, I'll pick that up.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, I'm the same, especially if I see a color variant I've never seen before. For me, it seems to be these solitary polyps, the cinerinas, the scolemias, this acanthophilia. I'll never be able to frag that, but wow, what a display they make when you start putting them together and creating, you know, gardens in large areas with these things. I mean, my fox coral, it's the size of a volleyball. It's unbelievable now when it's happy. And I'm so looking forward to having the space for it really to spread out. Mike is asking if you guys manually dose or use a calcium reactor.
Well,
Show
my
my
tank's not
setup.
really demanding, so I don't have to really dose for it. Being a nano tank, just water change is good enough for me. I'm sure it's a little different for Chase, though. He's got all that work in there.
So I have about 300 gallons of water volume between. Actually, the refugium light needs to be on now. I recently took the timer off the refugium light to run the UV, so I need to get another timer. But I'm turning the refugium on manually now. But it's a 90-gallon fuge. Just have some Kato over here, or some Caulerpa.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have about 300-gallon system here, so I do have to dose. This is the system I have going right now. That's a DP3 and the DP4 J-valve.
Yep.
Those pumps take they take a little bit of getting used to not have problems with, I will say, but they're cheap, which is probably why. But right now, what I'm dosing off of those this is 2-part, BRS Pharma 2-part, alk and calcium. So those are, I think, about a gallon and a half containers. And I dose about 80 mLs a day of each of those, between 80 and 90. So I'm filling those up maybe once a month or a month and a half. And then along that, on the DP4, I have Acro Power and magnesium. So like the third part of 2-part magnesium, that's going in. I dose, I think, 20 mLs of mag a day, maybe, and 3 mLs of Acro Power a day. And then on the kind of newer what's that?
Do you use Kalkwasser at all?
No.
I've been using
I have
that.
a bag of it, but I haven't used it yet.
I've been using it for the tanks at work, and I've seen a little bit more stability with the alkalinity and calcium with it as I've been using it, because we use 2-part as well, but I dose that by hand. But we've been slowly dripping the Kalkwasser into the tanks, and I've seen some pretty good results with it too. So I've been pretty happy with it.
So just like off a separate reservoir, or
pretty much. I mean,
ATO.
You can do it through the ATO. You just gotta be careful with the pump, because all that Kalkwasser is going to rest in the bottom of the container, and that's typically where a pump sits. So if you have a way of just like suspending the pump a little bit off the bottom and letting, after you mix your Kalkwasser, letting it settle for a little bit, topping it off, or we just drip it in through a 5-gallon bucket, like a drip every 3 or 4 seconds. The only issue with that is that the line clogs with just some of the calc in the line. So I typically just I purge it real fast, and then I restart to drip every day.
I started mixing.
So you've just been supplementing that with your 2-part.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to keep the a little bit more stable in there.
Yeah.
So in turn, I'm using less 2-part.
Yeah, I'm worried about that, because ever since I tied the 2 systems together, my consumption's just going up and up.
Yeah, start slow with it. I mean, Kalkwasser is pretty hard to mess up unless you're just dumping in there. But it'd be worth trying to give a shot if you have a lot of uptake.
Yeah, it's one of those things that goes in stages. You know, you start being able to keep up with water changes, and it's not just small tanks, but it also has to do with maturity in your reef and how much it needs. So you start with the water changes, they can't keep up. Then you do the 2-part, it can't keep up. Then you add calc, eventually it can't keep up, and then you go to a calcium reactor.
Yeah, and then you start running into the pH dips.
Yep.
Then you gotta add something else for that.
Yeah. Oh, did you see my little Instagram video today about the unicorn? I wonder if I put it up here.
I did. I saw that.
I will show it now for anyone who didn't see it. Okay.
That was a good laugh.
So here it comes. It's under a minute. Okay. I have something to show you that shocked the hell out of me when I saw it. And we have to sneak up on it so it doesn't get spooked. Okay, ready? It's a unicorn. Oh boy. I'm sorry. I've never had pH of 8.3 in my reef tank.
That's funny.
That is funny.
So
it's a nice achievement, though.
Well, you know, I've got to give it to the Aquachar. I really think that's what it is. That's pushing it up, because this was when the sump light was even off during the day. It's late afternoon, around 3:30 or 4 o'clock, that it seems to hit 8.3.
Oh.
And I've seen it as high as 8.36. So because I run my pH monitor not on batteries, but using an AC power supply, when I used to use batteries, as soon as the batteries needed replacement, the readings started getting all weird and super high. And that's how I knew that the batteries were about to run out. But because I've now replaced that with a regular power supply, I know it's not the batteries. So, yeah, it's I think it's part of why everything is growing so fast in there.
I just got to sustain that number.
Well, I don't think of myself as chasing the number. I don't have a number in mind. However, I do understand the relationship between, steady growth and elevated pH. And even though my tank will do very well at 7.9, 8, around there, it just does better at higher pH. So I will never turn myself inside out trying to maintain it, but I will understand the benefit of it and do my best not to do things to reduce it. I don't know. I'm not going to start a CO2 scrubber or any of that stuff.
I've always just kind of trended pH, look at what my probe's saying, like telling me, and why does it seem like it's a little lower recently, and then kind of compare it with my other testing and maybe see, hey, is something different? Just kind of use it as another data point, but don't necessarily get crazy about it, because there's a lot of variables that go into pH, and some you can control, but some you can't.
Exactly.
So,
and that's why I really don't want to get too upset as it changes. As long as it doesn't swing wildly up and down, that can be bad.
Yeah, because it usually means something else is, the oxygen levels in the tank are swinging, or the alkalinity, bicarbonate in the tank swinging. So, those can be the major issues.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Mike is asking if I'm using a HANA checker. I use the HANA for ultra-low phosphate, calcium, and alkalinity. And I use Salifert for nitrate and magnesium.
I do the same, except I use Elos for nitrate.
Yeah.
Turning all my pumps back on.
Yeah, I guess. So
did you guys see?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that. Oh, that was the webcam. The last 3 parts of my dosing, I don't know if you guys saw that, but it was just strontium, the potassium nitrate, and the trace elements.
Yep.
The Brightwell replenish.
Yeah, we did see those containers back there.
So that's it for my dosing. Otherwise I just kind of I use Phyto, some phytoplankton products that I dose periodically, and just some other stuff here and there.
I just made a video on phytoplankton cultures.
Nice. I'll check
if anybody's interested.
So just how to culture your own, or
it's just how to get started, really. I didn't really go into too many details with it. I was thinking about saving that for another video, but I just kind of basically how to get your kit started, really.
Yeah, that's something I'd like to do someday.
It's fun. It's just something different to do. It's just another dynamic to the hobby.
Really beneficial for the tank.
Oh yeah, I've seen a good response out of the reef tanks at work. Since I've started dosing the phyto, I've actually seen a reduction in algae. The SPS are responding to it very well. And I'm only dosing like maybe 110 mils once a week for 1,000-gallon tanks.
Wow.
Yeah, that's about the ratio I do because I do 30 mils for 300 gallons.
Yeah, it doesn't take
Um,
much. The only thing people gotta
Yeah.
be weary about is that it's gonna show up in your nitrate test. But in a way, it's a little bit more beneficial, I guess I want to say, from my experience, just because I've seen a reduction in the algae, especially like brown algae in particular.
I agree with you. That's interesting because my nitrates have gone up a little bit. But I've been wanting them to go up. And I wonder if that's been contributing.
Yep, you'll see them show up in your nitrate tests. Fish of Hex does a lot of good details with Phyto. If you want to watch his videos, he goes into it pretty well. I learned a lot from him. But yeah, it's been fun. It's real easy. You literally just pour it into the container, wait 10 days, and then you harvest, and then you start all over again. And then you slowly start accumulating all this phytoplankton. You're like, well, I can't dose it all, so so I have like gallons of it now.
You're like, I now sell Phyto.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I have these hatches right in my tank several times a week. And I used to think it was the pistol shrimp throwing up whatever from his digging in the sand, but I haven't seen him in quite a while. I don't know if he's still there. And I just shine the flashlight through, and it's full of little bits and pieces. I'm sure it's got to be rotifers or something like that. And sometimes if I leave the film algae on the glass for a few days, I'll see them. It's like a little fuzzy coating all over the algae. So it's kind of sad in a way, because when I think about the stage that this tank is at with its maturity level and what's been going on in here, it's a little bit sad to think of losing that and having to rebuild it again. But, you know, it has to be done.
Yeah, some things you can only get with time.
Yeah, very true. And I've never had a tank run for 3 full years before. So
yeah, there's so much value in that established tank.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I'm nervous for the transfer, just like you are, Cindy. I mean,
yep.
You know, I'm willing to, you know, what I'm going to do to mitigate some of the risk is, like I said, I'm going to frag out my colonies. I'm gonna bring a bunch to the LFS and just trade them in, store credit, just kind of, you know, wipe that slate clean. I'm gonna keep frags from everything, you know, but I'm not gonna hold on to all the things necessarily. So
yeah,
I'm gonna try to duplicate stuff. I'm gonna try to have stuff reserved, but you know, it's just I'm gonna have to really buckle down on testing and just make sure that when I finally make that connection, that I'm just really paying attention to things. But
yeah, I decided early on that I was going to try and move the pieces of the reef with all the coral on it, because I don't really have a way to set up a frag tank per se. I mean, I guess what I could do is take frags of everything I want to keep and just set up frag racks in the holding tank and just grow them out for several months. But my concern there is, if something happens and I end up losing them all anyway, why not try it this way? Like, why not get the tank as reasonably mature as I can, and once I move that rock over, I'm getting the benefit of the mature rock. So I'm hoping that helps. And of course, with the canisters, I have 2 now. They're loaded with media. Everything that I've moved is looking good. So I'm really hoping that I don't have too much in terms of losses. But I won't know.
Yeah, I'm cooking this rock over here, just trying to get some with a little bit more lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, I started a tote with salt water from water changes, and I've placed the large coral skeletons into it, and I just did a water change on it the last time I was there. I took out 4 gallons, and oh, it was grungy. So because that stuff had algae on it from when I took it out of the holding tank, the algae pretty much died in the dark and is all over the bottom. And so I sucked it all out using a maxi jet, and that's how I did the water change. So I'm hoping that I can maintain that rock until it's time to use it in the other tank. Should be nice and mature in 6 or 8 months' time.
Yeah.
Should be all good.
Yeah, that was almost the complete genesis of this Frag system, was just in anticipation of a transfer, like maybe a year down the road, you know?
Yep.
Just having something to help me with the transfer.
Yeah.
So when you bring in the new tank, are you going to immediately hook it up to your entire system and start just pumping water through it?
I don't think so. I don't think so immediately. I think I might even run it
Like solo?
you know, with some water in it. Yeah, solo, just below the overflow.
Yeah.
Just for a little while to see how the aquascape's doing, to see if there's anything weird that crops up that I just need, if I need to do like just take some more time with it. You know, I just don't want to. Yeah, so I might run it just separate for a little while, but I already have. This tank is already, the plumbing is already pre-plumbed, so I can plug into this. This is an outflow from the sump off my Vectra, so I'm actually going to plumb that around this wall and come out and around to the tank area out here. So that's just a matter of taking the existing union valve out and or union, whatever it is, and plumbing it all together, so I can hook it up whenever I want. But yeah, I think I'm gonna take some time with it and just kind of see what it does. I want to get this old rusty bucket out of here, but you know, I do and I don't. You know,
Yeah.
I'm dreading the transfer, and I really want it to happen at the same time.
That's a lot of water to add on to the system.
Yeah, it's going to be, you know, that's going to be 250 gallons. And once I take this out, that'll be 250 adding to 175. So it's going to be the majority of the water volume.
Yeah.
So it's no small addition.
No, that's for sure. Even when I set mine up, the display is around 300, just over. And I'm thinking of 175 or 200 in the sump area with a couple of different components to it. So even that's going to be somewhere around 500 gallons, which is a lot of water when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
That is a lot of water.
Yeah, and you have to dose because you know, where I'm at least, I mean, I just can't. Physically, I don't want to do that much water change, you know?
Yeah.
No.
Even, I mean, I guess if I had a really slick mixing station and all that, I'd be a little bit more willing to do it. But even then, you know, it's expensive and it takes time and it's physically demanding. So, I mean, on this system, 300-gallon system, I do 7 gallons a week. Maybe up to double that, you know, once a month. I mean, that's it for water changes.
Wow. Davis Jew, Dawn says, I think using your rock in the new tank is going to give you a head start. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have room in the corner for a mixing container?
Well, once I take this tank out, I'll have a lot more room down here in the fish room. I might hook something up. I don't know.
Probably get a couple 100 gallons in there. Gets 2 towers and just throw like a small pump in there, and you can hard plumb it over with a valve, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm planning to have about 100 gallons of RODI water on hand at all times. So if there's ever an emergency, I can pretty quickly put together salt water, because I don't know whether I want to hold 100 gallons of salt water and just have it in reserve all the time. Because I'm the same, I'm not really sure what I want to do for water changes. Right now I do about 10 gallons twice a month. And I think that has a lot to do with the maturity of the tank. Things are balanced in there. I don't need to do what I used to do in terms of water changes to get things corrected. So I think that has to do with the maturity of it. But when you first start out, you really do need the water changes to help you keep things in balance.
Yep.
Yeah, this is
So you have to be
this is a
ready.
3-year system. I mean, it's almost been up for 3 years, so it can that and with I do a fair amount of dosing and stuff. So I say that's a good point, Cindy.
Yeah. Well, and it goes with the territory. I mean, it's not just the size of the tank that determines your water change requirements. It's also the age of the tank, I think.
Yeah, I think one of the people that's probably more well known for that is Mark Levinson.
Yeah.
He's like a low water change guy, but he's got a 15-year-old system. So I hope people don't misunderstand that about that situation.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it is true there are elements that get depleted and those have to be replaced, but we can dose for those once we understand what they are and what the requirements are. But after a while, I really think your tank starts to produce its own sources of various types of nutrients and everything. And that's what I mean with these hatches that I'm getting in my tank. That's all I can think that it is. It's got to be that. Something is hatching. The polyps on my acros are crazy out at night. Just absolutely crazy. And I think it's in response to these things that are the life cycle of whatever it is. I don't feed phyto anymore other than phytoblast, but I used to feed the frozen phytoplankton for my pods, and I don't feed it anymore. But now I'm finally starting to see pods on the rocks at night moving around on the sand. That's only been for about the last 2 months or so. Up to then, as much as I looked for it, I was not seeing it.
Yeah, it's nice when you start. When I actually started dosing phyto again recently, I saw a huge boom in that kind of stuff, and even that's reassuring for me. I like having all that little stuff around.
Yeah. I thought about going back to it and perhaps doing a regular dosing of phyto, but that's always in the past when I've run into nutrient issues. So I don't know if I have enough stuff consuming phyto at this point to keep the balance that I need so that I don't end up with algae blooms and things like that.
Yeah, take a slow. Maybe do like half doses.
Yeah.
Because it's really you're not gonna hurt anything if you're doing like a little bit less than what you're supposed to, right?
Yeah. No,
that's how I kind of think about
slow.
it. Yeah. And
I really
like the idea of dosing phyto and stuff like that because you're kind of like building the food chain in your tank manually, because phyto's very low on the food chain,
foundational.
Right? Exactly. Yep. So that's like my whole when I think about it's part of the reason why I started eating phyto is just to help breed the pods for one, and two, just establish that base food chain in my tank to have a healthier ecosystem. But that's how I kind of really looked at it.
Yeah, very true. Mike is asking, last question of the night, are you running your UV 24 hours a day? I do, 24/7. Except if I'm dosing something like the Fritz 460 that requires you to turn it off. Every once in a while I notice my sand gets grungy, so I do a couple of doses of that stuff about 2 weeks apart, and it gradually clears up again. But that's the only time I would turn the UV off.
when I first got it, I got it because I had that outbreak of dinos when I was swapping some frags with some guys, and so I got the UV, and I was running it 24 hours a day. I've since everything's cleared up, I've cut it down to where I just run it 12 hours, and I'd love to hear some opinions on this because I'm just doing it based on my own logic and haven't researched it really, but. I've been running it now 12 hours just during the day because I feel like the light is kind of feeding other stuff that's in the water column and stuff, and so I want it on during the day and kind of zapping that other stuff that's thriving. Because it seems like at night, a lot of that light opportunistic stuff kind of fades.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've just been running it 12 hours on during the day and then off at night. But we'll see how that goes. If anything comes back, I'll just turn it back to 24 hours a day. Cindy, I was kind of going off what you were telling me a few weeks ago about like the longevity of the bulbs and stuff, and just trying to maybe draw out the lifetime of it a little bit more.
Yeah.
They're not cheap.
I don't know.
Yeah, or easy to get always.
True.
Yeah. What you're saying, Chase, makes a lot of sense to me too, because when you think about the way your system is constructed, you've got, we were talking about the food chain, and this ties into that. You've got that stuff traveling through your system. So if it travels in the absence of light, because most pods and rotifers and things like that are active at night because it's safer for them, it makes total sense to me to try and keep them out of the UV, because although it won't kill them, it will render them sterile, depending on what size they are and what your flow rate is and all of that. So that's the biggest concern people have about UV is, am I killing the beneficial stuff that's traveling through my water? So it would kind of make sense to me to shut it off overnight to kind of protect those things so they can continue to reproduce if they're beneficial to your system. I don't know if I'm way off base here, but it does.
Yeah, right.
It makes sense to me to do that.
Yeah, that does make sense. I'm not really sure. I'm like, does it affect? Is that proven? Does it affect the pods?
I think it depends on the exposure time, which is
Yeah.
the flow rate, and the whether you have level 1, level 2. It doesn't kill them, but it does make them harder, like reproduce less. And this,
Okay.
of course, is the theory behind the pathogens and the parasites as well. To me, if it can kill them or render them ineffective, why wouldn't it also affect really tiny things like rotifers?
Yeah.
It makes total sense to me that it wouldn't be good for them. So I don't know. It's something I've never researched in this context, but maybe it's worth looking into.
Well, it's definitely a destructive force across the board to any organism given the right concentration. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Let's look into that.
But yeah, I think you have to get your wattage right for your tank size, and look into your flow rates a little bit. But
Yeah. If it flows too slowly, it's just going to heat up the water, and that is a risk, getting the water too warm. But if it goes by too fast, it's you only get a certain level of water clarity. It's like algae. Algae is really the only thing that it will get rid of.
Nice clear water.
But
Yeah.
Sure. in the same voice though, it's not an exact science either, unless you're springing for like the Neptune flow sensor or whatever other flow sensors are out there. What I did was I bought a pump that was rated to the gallons per hour that I wanted, and I hooked it up and I've been running it. It's not like I'm scientifically figuring out what organisms I'm killing. So I'd love to be able to do that, but you got to be practical in the same sense.
Well, and we don't really have the tools to determine that.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get crazy about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of things, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But I've had the little, Amazon small wattage UV things too, and I just don't know what to think about those. Maybe they are effective on like a smaller system. I don't know. I haven't had any experience with that.
I've got a tiny one. I think it's like 15 watts for their Nano. When I got it for free actually, and
that's actually decent size.
I used it for a bacterial bloom actually for the tank, and it cleared it up right away.
Oh,
so
nice.
I kept it around just in case, but I never had to use it since, so it's been sitting in a box. I don't know if it's still good or not.
Well, the green killing machine, I use that thing, and it is a water clarifier. It's not a true UV. Even though it does use UV light, it's not what you would remotely call a sterilizer, but it certainly does a great job keeping the water clear. It's what I ran on the molly breeding tank that I had, the 20-gallon. If I didn't have that thing going, the water would always be cloudy. And I'm not quite sure why, but it worked really, really well.
Nice. Yeah, if you find a product that works for you, just go with it.
Oh, 9 watts. Okay, that's the same thing I use, Cindy.
The green machine, yeah.
Yep, 9 watts, okay. I thought it was 15.
And I also have the Aqua Shield mid-size UV on Mollywood. And I've run that since day one. And I've actually replaced the bulb once. And that tank has been running about 18 months now.
Yeah, I've been happy with UV overall since I've started it. But it's just one of those things that I think happens in progression. It's not something you need to grab right away as like a critical piece of equipment, but
no,
it is definitely helpful and useful if you can add it to your arsenal over time.
Yeah, it's great to have, especially if you run into like a crypt or a ick too. If you see a spot on your fish and you have the UV, definitely start running that thing, because there's not much you can do for the reef tanks if you have ick in there, because a lot of these products, they say they work, but they're garbage. It sucks too. We don't have a solid product out there yet for a saltwater ick that won't kill all of our corals.
Yeah, I don't think you have much choice but to remove your fish and treat it.
Yeah, sometimes it's really tough to do, to remove all the fish, which sucks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something I would put very high on the list. A good UV of equipment as far as priority goes. And for the new tank, for the current tank, the Red Sea Reefer, I started the cycle in May. I started putting stuff in it in July, and I started running the UV in August. So it was pretty early on. So maybe I didn't need it yet, but I don't regret doing it.
No. It's nice to have.
I think the benefit outweighs the risk if you do it right.
Yeah.
I think too I think it lends itself to, although as I'm saying this, I'm like, I don't have experience with smaller systems. But I think it lends itself to a large system, because large systems are a lot of maintenance work, and if you can cut down on the cleaning aspect of it, like that's a lot of, if you want your tank to look really nice, that's a lot of your time is spent cleaning. And so a tool that reduces that is, I think, really useful on a large system.
Yeah, it's one of those things where in my reefer, I have very little algae because I've got the fox face and the Tamini tang. So what do my snails eat? And that does become a problem, because those turbo snails are, the size of hamsters. And they're
knocking everything over.
Oh, yeah, and they're constantly cruising. So I tend to let my glass get dirty, because they do need something to eat.
Yeah.
And then I think, well, you know what? If there's film on the glass, there's also probably film on the open areas of rock. So the problem is there's not much open area of rock anymore. So the poor things are looking for food all the time.
Throw some algae wafers in there.
Yeah, I have done that too.
Have you?
Yeah.
Do they go for them?
Well, I don't know because they would do it during the night,
Oh.
and I do have a few. I still do have some Naceria snails in there. Well, it is. Oh my goodness! It's almost midnight,
Oh.
so I think it's probably time for my weekly picture show. I'll start with. What do you think this is?
Is that your house?
Any guesses?
Excavating the
bunch of cement
foundation for your
trucks.
tank.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. We're pretty sure the forms are in for our house, but we couldn't get close enough to tell. So we're hoping to drive over there tomorrow when there won't be 5 cement trucks in the way and just see what we can see. It's pretty exciting.
That's exciting.
Well, given the COVID, we thought they'd be delayed, but the original schedule to start digging the hole was June the 1st, and this was June the 4th that I took this picture. So we think they're pretty close to being right on schedule.
Nice.
Yep.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah. And then here's the boy.
Oh.
This was yesterday.
How old is he?
He will be 6 months old June 11th.
Nice.
No,
Love babies.
5 months old. 5 months old June 11th. Sorry. Yep. He's just about to fall asleep in the car. So that's my weekly picture show. Thank you for indulging me. I appreciate it. It's the grandma thing.
Of course.
Oh, hey, Diacanthus Reef. I guess Diacanthus is going to have the last word on I stay away from products not using amorphous fused silica in UVC applications. He's not inclined to trust so many gallons per hour rating if they don't bother to list the sterilization irradiation rates either. Yeah, when I did all the reading into this, it gets pretty complex to understand the various components, what they do, how important they are, and sort of the ranking of what matters the most. So it's a good point. And you would only get the best quality, of course, at the higher price point. So, you know,
That was a little over my head. I'll have to look into it a little more.
it's kind of a balancing act between value for money and how important it is to you to get the most out of the product. And you know, it's if you're going to spend thousands of dollars on, let's say, an aquarium controller, and you don't have a decent piece of equipment controlling the quality of your water, you know, it's a balance. What matters the most and where you're going to spend your money. So, like everything in this hobby.
Hey, Cindy, I'd love to talk about aquarium controllers next time we chat.
Yeah.
I got some questions on some new stuff that's coming out, what people's opinions are.
Yeah, that's actually probably a really good idea. I'll see if I can do some reading this week and get myself a little bit better informed on the GHL stuff, because at this point I should know more. I just have not had time to do any in-depth, detailed research into it. So, yeah, that'd be great.
I have a pretty good Apex background too, so.
Oh, good.
Nice.
Okay. All right.
That'd be a
Well-
fun topic.
Okay. Well, it's been good tonight. Thanks, Joe, for hanging around.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Chase for coming in. Yeah.
Yeah,
I miss the
definitely.
old days, and we're making ourselves some new days, I think.
New days.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're making it work.
Yep. And thank you everyone in the chat for coming in tonight. And there was a lot of discussion in there. I'm going to enjoy looking at the replay, see what you guys were all talking about. Clowns hosting in Goniopora, stuff like that. All right. Good night, guys.
Good
And,
night.
good night,
All right.
everybody.
See ya.
And we will see you next week. Okay.
Bye.
Good. Bye.
Bye.